between Corso and the Duck. We know there's some animosity between the two.
He needs a ride.
You're watching ESPN College Football presented by Cars.com. TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. An important Big Ten Legends Division matchup, especially for Nebraska, trying to stay undefeated in conference play. Today here at the stadium is Epilepsy Awareness Day. There's Minnesota head coach Jerry Kill, who is not coaching but in attendance, obviously, as he continues to try and manage his epilepsy. So Tracy Claeys, for the second straight week, down on the field as the Minnesota acting head coach. This would be Minnesota's biggest win in their era if they can knock off Nebraska today. And as you heard Tom Luginbill during game day in his interview with Bo Pelini, Taylor Martinez will start. Missed the last 3 games with turf toe, his left foot. His last game action 6 weeks ago. On September 14th, he got hurt in the UCLA game. That's the only loss for Nebraska this year, and they led that game 21-3 before losing 41-21. It is cold in the Twin Cities. Temperature around 42. I think that's a little ambitious. A little wind down on the field. But the sun is out, and we're ready for Big Ten football. Nebraska will receive. Kenny Bell and Amir Abdullah are the deep men. Chris Hawthorne will kick it away. And Bell will run it out for the Huskers. And Bell past the 30-yard line before he's brought down at the 31. Martinez has really turned his play around as a passer. We knew about his running skills. Last year, rushed for over 1,000 yards. A couple of years ago, he couldn't throw. And then last year, threw 23 touchdown passes, over 300 yards in the win against Minnesota in 2012. And this year, 9 touchdowns passing, just 1 interception.
And the key to keep an eye on today with Taylor Martinez is his left foot, which he injured. Can he transfer the weight and drive that ball down the field with that injury on the left foot?
And he's going to throw it into the flat here on 1st and 10. And a nice move at the 40-yard line. Out near the 45 is Alonzo Moore, just his 2nd catch on the season. Our impact players brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Yeah, the 2 real impact players for Nebraska offensively are Amir Abdullah and Kenny Bell, most explosive guys they have on offense. And defensively for Minnesota, James Manuel is having an outstanding season. Real challenge for him today, tackling on the perimeter in space, as this Nebraska offense loves to get the ball on the perimeter.
Here's a handoff to Quincy Onunwa coming around from the wide receiver position from his left. That's a gain of about 4. Also on defense for Minnesota, keep an eye on number 99, Rashid Hageman, who many feel will be a first-round NFL draft pick. He's a senior from here in Minneapolis. He's the reason why Manuel gets some tackles as he holds up some of the offensive linemen. A gain of 4 on the previous play. And now Martinez slips and falls. He's down at the 39-yard line, so that's a loss on the play. It'll bring up 3rd down and long.
But I think he slipped. He saw the corner blitz off the edge, and he tried to make a quick move. And his left foot there just come out from under him. That's the foot that's injured. The left foot never got the cleats in the ground.
So an 8-yard setback. It's 3rd down and 14. Minnesota showing blitz.
There's no safety in the middle of the field right now, and Taylor Martinez saw it. He wants to check, and now Minnesota's going to check.
Play clock at 3. And the pitch to Abdullah. He's got running room across the 50-yard line. And Abdullah on 3rd down and 14 gets the 1st down.
They audible to the option. Watch the left tackle, Searles, number 71 right there, gets a block on the 2nd level, and that's what allows Abdullah to cut back. Very well done. This offensive line for Nebraska, not only are they big and physical on the line of scrimmage, but they're athletic enough to get to the 2nd level, which is critical in the option game.
So a 16-yard run, and now Martinez in trouble. Steps up, fires it deep for Bell. And what a throw by Martinez. It's caught by Bell inside the 5. 1st and goal, Nebraska.
Great movement in the pocket from Taylor Martinez. He didn't panic, just shuffled his feet, kept his eyes downfield. And Kenny Bell, as we mentioned, their most explosive and fastest wide receiver. All he's done in his career in Nebraska is make plays like that.
25th catch on the season for Bell. A 41-yard pass play. First and goal for Nebraska. And it's an inside run to Cross, who powers to the goal line and in. Touchdown. An impressive first drive for Nebraska. They pick up a 3rd down and 14, and then a bomb by Martinez to Bell sets up the 2-yard rushing score for Amani Cross, his 9th touchdown on the ground this year.
Boy, and all good signs for Taylor Martinez, showing no ill effects of that injury to his foot. And this Nebraska offense just runs at a higher level, more high octane when he's in the game as opposed to Tommy Armstrong.
And Pat Smith now for the point after. Nebraska trying to get to 6-1, 3-0 in the Big Ten. Try to keep pace with Michigan State and Michigan. And a great start here on the road.
Football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com.
Back here in Minneapolis, Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, and Tom Luganbill. Nebraska on top 7-0. Amani Cross with a rushing touchdown after Nebraska picked up a 3rd down and 14 running the ball. And Taylor Martinez with a 41-yard strike to Kenny Bell to set up the rushing score. Just 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Marcus Jones is the deep man for Minnesota. He is a dangerous returner. He's got a punt return and a kick return for touchdowns this season. But this will be a touchback and will come out to the 25-yard line. And welcome inside the booth. Brian, we talked about Taylor Martinez, and obviously he looked good on that first drive. How important is he to Nebraska's success if they are going to win a Big Ten championship this year?
I think he's critical. I mean, everybody knows that he's the most explosive player that they have on offense. I thought that Bo Pelini did a really nice job of not bringing him back too soon. Of course, they played games against Illinois, Purdue, San Jose State. In his senior year as a quarterback, I'm sure he wanted to get back on the field as fast as possible. But with an injury like he had to his foot, and that turf toe is a really serious injury. It's a lot worse than it sounds. I thought that they did a really nice job in getting him healthy.
And Minnesota will run the ball on 1st and 10 to David Cobb. He pushes the pile to the 28 for 3 yards. Redshirt freshman quarterback Mitch Leidner starting for the 3rd straight game. 6'4", 230-pounder. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns in the year, but not much of a passer yet. Only 55 yards passing per game. There's Philip Nelson, the backup quarterback. He started for the first 5 games. Leidner off play action, has time, and everybody covered. And Leidner brought down by Randy Gregory. Let's check in with Tom.
One of the challenges for Minnesota, guys, in relationship to how they're going to move the football through the air is creating mismatches on the perimeter. They're not athletically equipped to do that. So you're going to notice an awful lot of formation shifts, different personnel groupings, a lot of jet sweep motion to try and keep Nebraska out of man-to-man coverage so that they don't lock down the perimeter and give Mitch Leidner an opportunity to throw the football into some holes.
And Tom, we just saw it there. Nebraska able to lock up those receivers off play action. Leidner had nowhere to go. Same situation here, and Leidner gets to the 29 before he's wrapped up by Jean Baptiste and Avery Moss. Jean Baptiste is back in the lineup after being ejected last week because of a targeting foul in the first half. He is an important player on that defense. Has 4 interceptions on the year. 4th down, Minnesota will punt.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge most of the day for Minnesota to move the football, as Tom said. Athletically, they don't match up with Nebraska. They've got to really do it with smoke and mirrors, and Max Williams, the tight end, is really their best option throwing the football and catching the football, and it's going to be a struggle.
Peter Mortel to punt. Jordan Westerkamp is deep for Nebraska. Kicking into a swirling wind. It's a short punt. Westerkamp able to slip a tackle. He's got blockers across midfield and tripped up, stepped out, but in Minnesota territory at the 47-yard line. 36-yard punt and a 17-yard return. Nebraska already leading 7-0. The next possession starts in Gopher territory. Back here in Minneapolis, where Nebraska's on top 7-0. A unique situation here in Minneapolis, obviously, with Jerry Kill not coaching, still undergoing treatment and management of epilepsy. So Tracy Claeys, who's been upstairs, he's been on this staff with Kill for a long time in several different stops. It's only the second time he's coached from the field, and he's got to manage the clock, make in-game decisions while calling the defense. He still is the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and that's a challenge because, you know, as a defensive coordinator, he was up in the booth where he had all of his charts, you know, and calling plays on offense or defense is part science and it's part an art, right? And I think the science part of it is you have the charts which tell you on third down, certain situations, here's the percentage of what's going to happen, and I make my play call off of that. Now that he's down on the field, he doesn't have those charts in front of him. He's got to really go by his instinct.
Martinez throws on 1st and 10. It's caught by Jamal Turner inside the 35-yard line. A gain of about 14 before Antonio Johnson makes the tackle.
And I think the challenge today, as we were talking with Tracy Claeys last night, is going up against a fast-paced offense. He has to be operating really fast and getting the play calls in on defense. He can't be talking to players on the sideline or trying to make adjustments with coaches. He has to keep his mind one play ahead. And it's difficult when you're going against a fast offense.
From the 33-yard line, Abdullah wrapped up at the 27, gain of 6.
No, Tracy Claeys, at the end of the day, his job is to manage this game and get his players in the best position to win. What I'm seeing down here on the sideline is Coach Jay Sauvel, who has been at 3 different stops with Jerry Kill, as many of these assistant coaches have. They're handling the interaction play-to-play between players.
Martinez will throw on 2nd and short, and Bell trying to get outside, and Minnesota able to get him out of bounds. Brock Vereen, James Manuel. What's interesting, guys, in talking with the Minnesota coaches yesterday, when it comes to big decisions, they were in agreement. They said, look, we have so much data already banked on what to do in those situations from working with Jerry Kill for 2 decades that we know exactly what he would do in that situation.
Yeah, the parameters for those decisions have been laid definitely by Jerry Kill.
Play clock 15, so plenty of time here. Martinez under center. 3rd down and 2. They picked up 3rd down and 14 on the first drive, and Abdullah just runs through a linebacker, Aaron Hill, and gets the 1st down. Amir Abdullah, number 2 in the Big Ten in rushing, 6th in the country.
Take a look at the power. He's only 190 pounds, but he runs right over Aaron Hill, that number 57 there. He's a big linebacker, 230 pounds, and you don't realize how strong Amir Abdullah is when he runs inside the tackles.
Only Melvin Gordon, who's had an outstanding year for Wisconsin, has more yards per game this season in the Big Ten. Turner gets clocked at the 18-yard line by Johnson. 2nd down. Michigan State, Illinois is at 3:30. That's the team, Sparty, that Nebraska's chasing right now in the Legends division. Michigan State is 3-0. Nebraska 2-0. Michigan 2-1. Nebraska will be at Michigan in November and host Michigan State a week after. On 2nd and 5, Martinez to the air, going to the end zone for Enunwa. And incomplete. There's a lot of contact down there. Brock Vereen playing corner, normally a safety. 2nd straight game starting at cornerback. Had the coverage.
Yeah, and Brock Vereen is the leader of this defense. And that's just great coverage. Despite the fact that he doesn't look back for that ball, he was in great position. Well, I did look back for the ball. I'll take that back. It's very well played. The officials will let you get away with a little bit of contact as a defensive back if you're looking back for the football. That was well done.
Almost a must stop here for Minnesota. They can't go down 14-0, considering how anemic their offense has been this year. Got to try to hold Nebraska to 3. Little half roll for Martinez. Gonna get leveled, and the ball comes out. It's recovered by Nebraska. Boy, Martinez hops to his feet, but he got smoked by Theron Cochran, and it's 4th down. Mike Mouty recovered the loose ball.
You have to know as a quarterback that if you're going to roll to the left and not block the backside, you cannot pull up by any stretch of the imagination. They're expecting you to stay on the move, and when Martinez pulls up, he allows Cochran to get back there. Oh, boy.
And Mike Mouty starting for the injured Spencer Long, their All-American guard, is out for the year with a knee injury, with a heads-up play to get to the fumble. Now a 45-yard attempt by Pat Smith. He's only attempted 3 field goals on the year, as long as 32. But he nails this one to make it 10-0 Cornhuskers. That's got to be somewhat encouraging, though, for Minnesota to at least make a play on defense.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. Get the right car without all the drama. Cars.com. All drive, no drama. And in part by Buick. Visit your local Buick dealer to see why thousands of people are switching to Buick each month.
Pre-game, Eric Klein, the strength coach, leading Minnesota into the locker room here at TCF Bank Stadium. Minnesota coming off a huge win at Northwestern, their first Big Ten win. They're 1 win shy of being bowl eligible as they try to turn this program around in the 3rd year of the Jerry Kill era. Right now it's 10-0 Nebraska. Minnesota got a big stop, forcing a fumble on 3rd down, recovered by an offensive lineman, and then a 45-yard field goal by Pat Smith. Oro Bondi is the kickoff man for the Huskers. And this will be another touchback as we say hello to Reese Davis in the studio.
Hello, Dave. It's time for Sports Center right now, presented by Bank of New York Mellon. Louisville aggravated South Florida, your leader in the American Athletic Conference, with a couple of early wins. Teddy Ball game 4 for 4. Hit Damian Copeland there. It's 7-0. Louisville's on top.
Yeah, trying to bounce back after that Friday night loss to UCF. Looked like Louisville was going to win it going away in the 4th quarter, but the Knights under George O'Leary with the comeback victory. Minnesota in need of a comeback. First down on its 25-yard line. Here's an end around to Derek Engel. That's their best offensive play so far. 13 yards on the carry.
Well, we talked about Minnesota offensively needing to have some kind of smoke and mirrors. They're not going to be able to line up and just blow Nebraska off the ball, and they're not going to be able to line up and just throw the football straight away against man-to-man coverage. They've got to get some misdirection into this offense. They've got to get some positive plays, protect their defense a little bit. That's what Jerry Kill is all about, is running the football, shortening the game, protecting his defense, and taking advantage of turnovers when they happen.
They said he stepped out at the 36. Still a first down, 11-yard gain. Leidner out there for a 2nd series. A swing pass to David Cobb. And Cobb with a nice spin. Wrapped up and slammed down after an 8-yard pickup by Avery Moss. David Cobb, who is not on the season opening depth chart, but has become their best back.
Yeah, they really have. He's been a surprise for Minnesota. He's going to get a heavy load today with Roderick Williams, their starting tailback, out with an injury for this game. And so you're going to see a lot of Cobb and some of Donnell Kirkwood.
So 2 successful plays to start this drive for Minnesota. Cobb on the cutback. Has the first down of the 47-yard line. Cobb rushed for over 100 yards in his first start last week at Northwestern, and a 20-17 win.
All of the backs for Minnesota are bigger style backs. Cobb goes 225 pounds. Kirkwood's 233 pounds. And then probably the guy that'll run the ball most today will be the quarterback, Mitch Leidner. He's 230 pounds. So once those guys get through the hole, they're difficult to get down.
Leidner on the rollout, looking to the sideline, and a diving catch made in Nebraska territory by Engel at the 45-yard line. So a good pickup there on first down.
I think you've seen a little bit of diversity in the offense in this drive. A rollout. We've seen screen pass. Good throw there from Leidner. Got to get the confidence of a young quarterback up. I mean, there's been so many ups and downs. Leidner wasn't in the game a week ago at the end when they beat Northwestern because he injured his ankle. So you need to get him some confidence early in this game.
Donnell Kirkwood, the number 2 running back today, close to another Minnesota first down at the 42. Zaire Anderson made the hit. Only the 30th carry of the year for Kirkwood, but he's been impactful in the past at over 150 rushing yards in a game against Illinois last year. Gets the first down here for Minnesota.
Now, this Nebraska defense has been talked about extensively. You know, we're going back to a year ago and they gave up so many yards, but they're very young in the front 7, but they're very talented up front.
Here's Kirkwood. And another good run to the 36. They're just pounding him here. Nebraska's got a lot of guys in the box. Minnesota's running right at him.
Yeah, there's no question. You know what you're going to get from Minnesota running inside the box. It's just a matter of, are you in the right position with your fits? And early in games, defenses trying to figure out, how is the offense going to attack me? How should I play my run fits? And Nebraska's figuring that out right now with a young front 7.
That was a 6-yard carry. So it's 2nd and 4. And a good drive here by Minnesota. Jones on the end around. He's inside the 30-yard line and down to the 23. A 13-yard gain by true freshman Donovan Jones, who started the year at quarterback, now playing receiver.
And take a look at the block by Leidner, the quarterback. Here he is right here. At 230 pounds, you can get on the 2nd level and block a linebacker. It's well done.
You did that all the time in your day.
I'm not going anywhere near those guys.
8th play of the drive. Only 1 pass play so far in this possession. They're moving it on Nebraska. Straight handoff here. And Cobb wrapped up. Jason Ankra. Or excuse me, Corey Cooper on the tackle at the 20-yard line. Just a couple of yards there.
And this is the area of the field where you expect some play action pass. Maybe take a shot. You've run the ball well on this drive, and your best receiving option on offense is Max Williams, number 88, the tight end. Wouldn't be surprised in this situation to see a little play action. He's lined up in the wing at the top of the screen.
2nd down and 7 on the cusp of the red zone here. And Cobb up the gut, has the first down to the 13.
Well, they didn't throw it to Williams, but they decided to run right behind him. Take a look, a great block on the weak side. And Cobb just breaks right underneath. Max Williams is blocking Gregory there, who's one of the better players on this Nebraska front 4. The coaches for Nebraska told us he is very talented, an extremely good pass rusher, but you can see he's got a little work to do in stopping the run.
So first down inside the 15-yard line. Here's Cobb. He's down to the 6. Wrapped up by Cooper. But another good carry on the ground. They've got veterans up front. Zach Epping, the left guard, 29th straight start. The right tackle, Josh Campion, 21st consecutive start. Caleb Bach, the right guard, 19th straight start. And they're leaning on Nebraska's front 4 right now. It's Cobb on 2nd and short. And it's close to another first down. Anderson brings him to the ground, but it'll be first down and goal from the 2 for Minnesota.
We talked with the offensive coordinator, Matt Limegrover, last night about this offense, and it hasn't been the most explosive offense, but he said we want to establish a mentality and an attitude that we can run the ball against anybody. There was questions coming in whether they could do it against Nebraska, but this drive has certainly proved it.
Look at this formation. There's your guy Max Williams as the second man through. It's the third man through Cobb, and he does not get in. Got a yard on the play, so it'll be second and goal. Deontay Evans, the corner, senior captain, made the tackle. It's interesting how Nebraska knows exactly what Minnesota is going to do on this drive. Minnesota knows what they're going to do. They're just going to hand the ball off and run it, and it's working.
Well, in this situation, you got to remember you got a quarterback that can run as well at 230.
Yeah, the tackle lined up in the backfield now shifts to his normal spot, second down and goal. And on a quarterback sneak, Leidner has a touchdown for Minnesota.
Great answer from Minnesota offensively. You go down 10-0 at home after coming off a big win a week ago to Northwestern, and you start to wonder, can we play with Nebraska? Can we stay in this game? And they come out and establish an attitude and a physicality with that offensive line and get a big touchdown.
That third down play, that sack, forced fumble on Martinez, recovered by Nebraska, that led to a field goal, seemed to spark this Minnesota team. And the point after by Hawthorne. It's 10-7 Huskers as we bring Tom in.
We talked in the opening segment about how important it is for Minnesota to have a lot of shifts and formations and personnel groupings. But if you've noticed a lot of the jet sweep action, take a look at how that influences Nebraska defensively. What it can do is it can get you to take that false step, influence you in the opposite direction. And then what you do is you get in what's called a conflict of assignment. And I think that's really taking its toll right now on Nebraska defensively. Certainly saw it in the run game there. It really opened up some run lanes on the inside. And right now, Minnesota imposing their will in the run game in the offensive line.
Out of the 13 plays on that drive, 12 were run plays. And Minnesota with 72 yards on the ground now. Chris Hawthorne will kick off. We'll see how Taylor Martinez is doing after taking that big hit. His first game today in over a month after suffering a foot injury. Another touchback. It'll come out to the 25. We'll check in with Reese while we have a moment.
Taco Bell studio update takes you to Kyle Field, Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. Johnny Drama turns back into Johnny Football. Shoulders good, 10 for 10, 70 yards on the drive, and the touch to Darrell Walker.
Guy's indestructible. You think he had a knee injury a couple weeks ago. He goes back in the game and it looks fine. Has a shoulder injury last week. He's slinging it. Hasn't thrown an incompletion yet.
Yeah, he's a great player. There's no question about that. People forgot about him in the Heisman race, but he's had a statistically better year this year than he did last year.
Abdullah got the corner and then shoved out at the 32-yard line. A 7-yard pickup. Cedric Thompson, the safety, coming over to make the tackle for Minnesota.
And Minnesota's defense has been salty this year. They've got a good front four. They've got 3 young linebackers that they really like. And their secondary, which has been a little bit exposed, has been really good.
And that's the end of the first quarter here in Minneapolis. Nebraska leading by 3.
Or download the Watch ESPN app to watch ESPN live anytime, anywhere. Brought to you by Vizio.
Coming up tonight, Marcus Mariota, even though it's early, might be the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. And number 3, Oregon, taking on UCLA on ESPN at 7. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Ron, I know you picked Oregon. Do you think it'll be close? UCLA has struggled to protect Brett Hundley. They've got a running back who's out.
Well, yeah, Jordan James is out, and 3 freshmen will be starting on that offensive line. You know, it'll be interesting to see how Brett Hundley responds after the loss in their last game at Stanford. It would be under some significant pressure. And as you know, it's going to be loud in Autzen Stadium.
Nebraska with the ball. 3-point lead. First play of the second quarter. On the stretch, Abdullah has the first down. Nice tackle in the open field by Antonio Johnson, but they'll move the chains after a gain of 5.
This is the drive for Minnesota defensively, where you expect them to have had some time on the sideline to catch their breath, make some adjustments to what Nebraska is doing offensively, and after you get some momentum scoring a touchdown, you'd love to get out here and get a stop.
Nebraska trying to stay unbeaten in conference play. Its only loss was against UCLA. Forward pass incomplete off the fingertips of Kenny Bell, who had some drop issues earlier in his career in Nebraska. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
That bubble screen and perimeter passing game is something that's been missing from Nebraska's offense while Taylor Martinez has been on the bench. I'm not sure if it's an accuracy concern with Tommy Armstrong and Ron Kellogg, but that's an element of this offense that they are really excited to have back.
Armstrong, a redshirt freshman. Kellogg, a senior. Martinez over the middle. It's deflected and incomplete off the hand of Enunwa. It's 3rd down and 10.
That was a dangerous deflection there. Take a look at Taylor Martinez. He sees the blitz. He gets rid of the ball. It's good recognition by Martinez to get rid of the ball before he got hit. Just bad execution with a high throw.
Wonder if the first hit, last time they had the ball, had something to do with that high throw. Devondre Campbell was coming off the edge. Martinez got drilled on the previous possession by Theron Cochran and fumbled the ball. Was recovered by Nebraska. 3rd down and 10. Pressure coming. Wide receiver screen to Enunwa. He runs into a teammate, and that slowed him down. He's short of the first down at the 44 by about 3 yards.
Wow, this was the perfect play call for Nebraska. A slip screen against an all-out blitz. This should have been a touchdown. They got 4 Nebraska offensive linemen out there to block, and Enunwa just ran into. There's too much traffic. Maybe these Nebraska offensive linemen are too big. He couldn't find his way through there.
Brent Qualley, 6'7", 315, was the guy that Enunwa ran into. Is Fultz now will punt on 4th down and 2. Derek Engel is the deep man for Minnesota. Engel going to let this one sail into the end zone. It will come out to the 20 for the Gophers, who have momentum. Trailing by 3 early in the second quarter.
3-point game in Minneapolis, and Minnesota is doing it with smoke and mirrors on offense. Take a look at the effect that their speed and motion has had in the running game. Andrew Green, number 11, hesitates just a second with that motion. He has to respect that, and that creates a lane inside. Same kind of motion this time on the end of line of scrimmage. 16, John Baptiste, as well as Andrew Green, have to respect that motion. And just that little hesitation is creating some creases inside for Minnesota. On that last touchdown drive, no 3rd downs because they're averaging 6 yards a play on 1st down. And when you're almost exclusively a running team, that's outstanding.
Let's see if Nebraska adjusts. 1st down for Minnesota on its 20. Leitner's going to hand it off to Donovan Jones again. That's the 2nd run for Jones, and both have been good. Boy, he goes sailing over a bench on the Nebraska sideline. He's okay, though. Corey Cooper pushed him out after a gain of 11 yards.
And they're going to do this to make you honor that speed sweep. Great adjustment by Minnesota. If you're going to fake with the speed sweep to run in the interior, you've got to make sure that you're making Nebraska honor that by handing that ball off on plays, and Donovan Jones is the only real speed guy they have to do that.
He's pointing to his right shoulder, too, after ran into the bench. So 83 yards on the ground for the Gophers against this Nebraska D. Here's Cobb. He's wrapped up at the 35, 4-yard gain. Here's Reese.
Dave, time for an innovative look brought to you by AT&T. Tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, you'll see Oregon take on UCLA, and dealing with the Duck defense or Duck offense, I should say, is stressful on a defense. Stanford did it beautifully by maintaining their discipline. Nobody gets out of their gaps. Guys like Kendricks and Zumwalt for UCLA tonight will have to take a page from the Shane Scove book to be successful.
Oregon third in the BCS standings, but will likely jump Florida State after tonight as Leidner is brought down by Avery Moss, who was not fooled on that fake. So it'll be third down here. Moss, one of the young players for Nebraska, really coming on here. He's a freshman from Tempe, Arizona.
Now, we talk about what are the adjustments that Nebraska can make against this running attack. Well, it really has to start with these defensive ends. They have got to be able to squeeze those holes on the inside so that their linebackers and safeties can still respect that speed sweep without creating that crease on the interior. That was well done by Moss.
Hard to tell if that was just a broken play. Third down and 5. Here comes pressure. It's picked up, and Leidner's got him in, but he overthrew him just a bit, and it's incomplete. Isaac Frichte got his hands on it, but could not pull it in. They had that blocked. Leidner off the mark with the throw. Fourth down.
Well, all-out blitz and good recognition by Leidner. Good toughness standing in there and taking that hit. That ball was thrown just a little bit outside of the reach of Frichte. Could have made that play. This is where, you know, when you don't have those really fast guys at the wide receiver position, it's hard as a quarterback to get that football to him, and yeah, a little bit more speed from Frichte. That would have been a conversion, potentially a touchdown.
So now fourth down, and Mortel will punt it. Another short kick, and Westerkamp did not signal for a fair catch. He's brought down around the 30-yard line. So 10-7 Nebraska. ESPN, the home of the 100th Rose Bowl game, presented by Vizio on New Year's Day.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Call of Duty Ghosts, available November 5th. Pre-order now. And Bank of America.
Dave Pasch alongside the only retired quarterback who did not get a call this week from the St. Louis Rams, Brian Griese, although he's younger than both Brett Favre and Jeff Garcia.
How do you know I didn't get a call?
Well, you told me you didn't. So you're not telling me the truth? You holding back?
I'm comfortable right where I am.
Here's a run play on first down. Abdullah out to the 29-yard line for about a yard. You know, it's interesting. All teams are allowed to bring their own footballs on the road. This is the ball that Taylor Martinez prefers. As you can see, it's quite worn. And a big contrast between what Minnesota uses.
Yeah, it's kind of like a security blanket for Taylor Martinez. He likes the ball with not as much tact on it. And I'm not sure if sometimes when it gets cold, it's very hard to grip that football. But as you see Amir Abdullah down on the ground, they're looking at his ankle. That would be a huge loss for Nebraska.
He is the second leading rusher in the Big Ten. Was hurt after that gain of 1. Back in a moment. Perhaps Nebraska's best offensive player, Amir Abdullah, hurt on the previous play, a 1-yard run. He comes into this game averaging 136 rushing yards per game. You see the tackle, it was his left ankle they were looking at. It was Roland Johnson that dragged him down. There might have been another player who fell on it there as well. He did walk with a little help off the field. They're looking at him on the Nebraska sideline. There's that worn football we were talking about prior to the break that Taylor Martinez prefers. Second down and 9 for the Huskers. So Amani Cross, who has 9 rushing touchdowns, including 1 today, is in the game. Play clock at 1. And Martinez will throw, and a catch made by Westerkamp at the 35-yard line. A 6-yard pickup. Third down and 3 coming up.
The loss of Amir Abdullah, you have Cross, who's really a different style of back. He's a more power back, big back at 225 pounds, but they've lost that speed element at halfback. These kinds of scenarios, 3rd and 3 to 4, is where they love to have Abdullah in there so they can run the option with Taylor Martinez and not have to throw the ball to pick up the first down.
We saw that on the first drive. They picked up 3rd and 14 running the option. Straight pass play here, though, for Martinez. Steps up, wrapped up, thrown down, but a flag. Rashid Hageman might have grabbed the face mask on the sack. There's also an injured Nebraska lineman. They've already lost Spencer Long for the season. Jeremy Searles, the left tackle, was slow to get up.
Rashid Hageman is the kind of player that you just never know when he's going to explode. 6'6", 311 pounds, and he's explosive. Very difficult to block on the interior of that offensive line.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So that was on the sack by Hageman. It's unnecessary. He had the shot on Martinez, a free hit, could have brought him down for a sack. Instead, it's a first down, Nebraska.
Right in the middle of the screen. It was, you know, we don't have the 5-yard variety anymore. That hand got up there. I don't think it was intentional. He's just trying to get to Taylor Martinez on the ground, and unfortunate for him, his hand was up around the mask.
Play action. Martinez hit again. Hageman gets him down again, and a penalty marker thrown in the backfield one more time. Boy, Hageman with an incredible burst.
No Spencer Long for this offensive line is hurting them. That time Mike Mowdy just got run over.
Holding, offense, number 74. That penalty's declined. Second down.
And that's Maudy who had the penalty. He's doing everything he possibly can. You're going to see, here's Hageman right here against Mowdy. Take a look at the explosion. And then the power to get back there. That's impressive. That's what got a lot of NFL scouts excited about Rashid Hageman.
So an 8-yard loss. True freshman Terrell Newby is in the game at running back. And Martinez throwing for the sideline, and it's knocked away, incomplete. Antonio Johnson with excellent coverage on Jordan Westerkamp, and he poked the ball out. It's third down.
The one thing about Taylor Martinez's football when he throws downfield is it seems to hang up in the air, and that time it gave Antonio Johnson an opportunity to just come in and get his hand in and knock that football away.
They picked up 3rd and 14 earlier, but that was with Abdullah in the game running the ball. Pressure again. Martinez steps up. And wrapped up. Well short of the first down. Devondre Campbell there first. Aaron Hill cleans him up. And Nebraska has to kick the football away.
Big stop for Minnesota on defense to get some momentum in this game. They could have very easily looked at that penalty, which was an emotional high for them. They get the penalty, which negates the sack, but then they come back with 3 good plays after that. That shows you the mental toughness of them on defense.
Sam Foltz will punt. Engel is the deep man. And a fair catch made short of the 15-yard line. So Minnesota's defense fired up. He had Hageman with a sack. And then the Gophers make sure Martinez does not get the first down on 3rd and long. Meanwhile, it's 10-7. Philip Nelson, a sophomore, started for the first 5 games for Minnesota at quarterback. He's out there for his second play, and he's going to throw it here. Got a man wide open at the 35-yard line. It's Mike Henry, the fullback. Just his 4th catch of the season. Gain of around 20 on the play.
Great design by Minnesota offensively. You see the speed sweep. Now you fake the power, and you slip the fullback out the weak side. Very well designed by Matt Limegrover, their offensive coordinator. And right now, they are just one step ahead of the Nebraska defense.
See the numbers for Nelson on the season. Got a penalty marker down as Jones is loose inside the 40. And Donovan Jones to the 33. Again, a penalty flag is down. That's the third time on that jet sweep that Jones has carried the ball and had success. There's a Nebraska defensive player down. Corey Cooper, a starting safety, shaken up.
There's no foul on the play. The formation in question was legal. First down.
So another 20-yard pick, a back-to-back 20-yard plays for the Minnesota offense.
The formation is legal here. You got to be off the ball to come in motion, and they've got enough guys on the line of scrimmage. That's well done by Minnesota. And again, validating that speed motion. The combination of that perimeter run game with the combination of the power inside is really what's working for Minnesota.
Still surprised, though, that Nebraska's defense is getting gashed by Minnesota. This offense has really struggled this year. Cobb off the right side, and this time he goes nowhere. Maybe lost a yard on the play.
Well, yeah, and surprised, but again, the front seven for Nebraska is very young. There's only one senior starter up front for Nebraska, and that's Ankler. And so for those guys to be able to manage 53 yards wide, right, to be able to manage that speed sweep, but also be in their run fits on the power inside is not an easy adjustment.
123 rushing yards for Minnesota. They've only thrown 3 passes here in the first half. Here comes number 4. Nelson firing to the end zone. Overthrown, incomplete. Frichte was open. We've seen that a lot, though, with these Minnesota quarterbacks, including a pass earlier in this game. A lot of overthrows.
Well, I thought Philip Nelson should have run with this football. There's double coverage downfield. It's well defended. He had plenty of room to run and get 6-7 yards. To force that ball downfield like that in a double coverage, although he did look open, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat him by a couple of yards, just overthrown. So now it's 3rd down and 10. It would be about a 50-yard field goal from here. Chris Hawthorne has made a 45-yarder this season. A timeout called by Minnesota. So the first timeout taken by the Gophers midway through the second quarter here at TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota, trailing by 3. Big one in the Big Ten on ABC tonight at 8 Eastern with Saturday Night Football presented by Windows. Ohio State, with the nation's longest win streak, ranked 4th in the initial BCS standings, taking on Penn State. Urban Meyer said that Braxton Miller against Iowa played one of his best games as a Buckeye. Ohio State came back to win that game. But a good rivalry. Penn State's had a lot of success in Columbus the last several trips there. 3rd down and 10 for Minnesota. A pass play for Nelson. And it's incomplete. So 4th down and 10. Be a 50-yard field goal from here. We'll see if they try to pin Nebraska deep, or if they go for it, which it looks like they're going to. You are surprised by this decision?
Chris Hawthorne, their kicker, a senior, must feel like he doesn't have enough leg here. And again, a decision by Tracy Claeys. These are the kinds of decisions that Jerry Kill has made traditionally, and now it's on his plate. And this is the first 4th down that we've seen in this game that he's decided to go for.
Why not punt it? You got a pretty good punter. Percentages aren't good for 4th down and 10. Nelson going to go deep. There's a man open. It's caught. Touchdown. Derek Engel on 4th down and 10. Forget the percentages.
And how good does that feel for Tracy Claeys to make that call on 4th and 10 and for his young Gopher squad to deliver? I don't think Nebraska thought that they would throw that ball.
I don't think so either. I think you're right. He was open. They're starting to get separation from the DBs. We saw it 3 times on that drive. 2 overthrows. But that one on the money. And Derek Engel having quite a day.
And Derek Engel, he wasn't open by much, but that ball was put in the perfect position. Give Nelson credit. Minnesota takes the lead.
Well, you got to appreciate the guts of Tracy Claeys, the acting head coach, Matt Linegrover, the offensive coordinator, Jerry Kill not coaching, but here in the booth, you wonder if he's making any suggestions as Minnesota on 4th and 10 throws the ball, and Philip Nelson finds Derek Engel for a 33-yard touchdown.
Well, I love the aggressive approach, and you know, sometimes you have an interim situation with a coach. You don't know what you're going to get, and Tracy Claeys, a defensive coordinator, is really trusting in Matt Linegrover, his offensive coordinator. If you have a play you like in a 4th down situation, let's go for it. And you're playing Nebraska at home. This would be the biggest win in the Jerry Kill era here, and be aggressive.
Short kickoff. And across the 20-yard line is Moore. Out to the 24.
Well, take a look. Here's Engel in the slot, and it's Harvey Jackson and the linebacker that are going to try to stay with him. And didn't look like Jackson, the safety, was really ready. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they thought they were going to throw the ball down the field like that. But a perfectly executed throw from Philip Nelson.
Amir Abdullah is back in the game for Nebraska after leaving earlier due to a left foot injury. He'll get the call here, and a big hole, and then he fumbled the ball, and Minnesota's got it. Recovered by Cedric Thompson in Nebraska territory. Aaron Hill with the forced fumble. Abdullah's first touch since the injury.
Aaron Hill's been making plays all year for Minnesota on defense. That time Amir Abdullah got to the 2nd level. He was thinking about making a move on the safety, and just for a split second lost security on that football, and Minnesota continues to build on the momentum in this first half.
Goes back to that stop. It was 7-0. You had 3rd down. They got a big hit on Martinez to sack him. It led to a field goal, and momentum shifted at that time, and it's still with the Gophers. 6 minutes to play in the half. They lead it 14-10, and they've got it at the 47-yard line of Nebraska. They're going to run Cobb off the right side, drags a defender with him near the first down at the 38.
You know, this Minnesota football team, they've taken on the personality of their coaching staff. Very even-keeled temperament on the sideline. They don't dwell on the highs. They don't dwell on the lows. Of course, they're going to get excited when something good happens, but then it's right back to focus. It's right back to business at hand, and that's exactly how we see the temperament on the sideline.
And to give these guys credit, you know, it's not just the coaches that are impacted by what's been going on with Jerry Kill, but the players as well. As the quarterback keeps it, Nelson inside the 30-yard line. He's got blockers inside the 20, out of bounds at the 16. He had Donovan Jones out there blocking for Nelson.
This entire Minnesota offensive approach today has been predicated on that speed sweep. There it is again, the fake. All of the defenders for Nebraska are inside thinking that Nelson's going to run on the interior. Good cut and big yardage on the outside.
23-yard run. Over 150 rushing yards for Minnesota here in the half. They're threatening to score again. Ball on the 15. Another end around. Frichte this time. He's close to the 10. Gain of 4 on the play. David Santos made the tackle.
You know, the one question when you have a defense as young as Nebraska does, when you're in a dogfight on the road and things aren't going as well as you thought they would go in the first half, and the team's running the ball down your throat, where's the leadership? Where is the guy that's going to make that play that's going to stop that momentum? And that's really what Nebraska is missing with so many young players on defense.
Jason Ankra, left end, has made those kinds of plays in the past. Randy Gregory, the right end, is a young guy who's made big plays. They need one here on 2nd down. Cobb on the cutback. Dives to the 7-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and short. Thad Randall tripped up the back. As we near the 4-minute mark here in the half, Minnesota leading by 4.
And you know that those defensive coaches for Nebraska, including Bo Pelini on the sideline, are hot right now. They are not happy with the way their defense has stopped the run, but they can't put that helmet on and go out there and make that play. Somebody has to step up, and that's why leadership is so important.
Minnesota 0 for 3 on third down. Nebraska, one of the best in the country at third down defense. 3rd and 2. And we've got a whistle. No penalty marker. Timeout called by Nebraska.
Nebraska. First team timeout.
Minnesota's last winning season was 2008. The last time they had more than 7 wins was 2003. They're trying to get win number 6 today with a lot of games left, and they've got the lead and looking to add to their 4-point advantage. 3rd down and 2. Here's Cobb, and he gets tackled for a loss at the 9-yard line. They needed a play, and it was true freshman Nathan Gary. It looked like Bo Pelini was upset with Gary during the timeout. He bounces back and makes the hit, and that forces Minnesota to kick a field goal.
Yeah, it looked like Gary was misaligned on that previous 3rd down play. That time he came on the pressure and blitz, got into the backfield unblocked and made a play.
So Hawthorne on for a 26-yard field goal try to extend the Minnesota lead to 7. And he puts it right down the middle. 17-10 Gophers. Time now for today's Aflac trivia question. Which former Gopher played in the NFL, CFL, NBA, and is in both Pro Football and CFL Halls of Fame?
Wow. That's interesting there. As you chew on that, think about this Minnesota team, and if they're able to win this game at home, what that would mean to their season. But also Nebraska, all the pressure is on Nebraska here. They have got to win this game. Remember the loss? They didn't look good in the opening game to Wyoming, and then they lost in a disappointing fashion in the second half to UCLA. And after that game, all the conversation was about the comments from Bo Pelini that mysteriously came out the day after that game.
Right,
and
comments from 2 years ago.
Right, and there was so much pressure on them in this second half to come back and win this football game. I can't imagine what the pundits would be saying if they lost to Minnesota.
Hawthorne's kick, returnable. Alonzo Moore. And Moore brought down at the 26-yard line. Here's Reese Davis.
Dave Lex's halftime report is coming up. Johnny Drama's Johnny Healthy, and he has been Johnny Football, and A&M is going off. Al Golden's at halftime right now. Faced the biggest deficit of the season, but the Hurricanes had an answer late in the first half against Wake Forest. And Mark and Lou are standing by. We'll get you ready for all the games later in the day, including a big test for Texas Tech. And can Stanford avoid looking ahead?
And Reese, it looked like Minnesota was not going to be able to stop Nebraska early on. The Huskers were doing whatever they wanted on offense, but now it's Minnesota with 17 unanswered points. Abdullah level and brought down. Cedric Thompson with a shot. Gain of a yard.
Well, we knew coming into this game that Minnesota, the question marks for their team were on offense. This defense, while they've given up some points to teams like Michigan, they have the talent in the front seven to stop the run, and so far they've done it.
2 timeouts remaining for Nebraska. 2.5 to go in the half. Martinez 7 of 11 passing. His first game in 6 weeks after missing 3 games with turf toe. And the late pitch to Abdullah up the sideline. He's got the first down. He stepped out at the 42, picked up 14 on the play.
Well, this offensive line for Nebraska has got to start exerting their will. Take a look, 2 great cut blocks on the edge there. Get both defenders down, and you give Amir Abdullah that much green grass on the outside, and he's going to convert first downs.
Martinez, the all-time leader in Nebraska in total offense, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. Here's that pitch to Abdullah, and a spin down at the 48-yard line. So a gain of 5 or 6 on the play.
I think Nebraska came into this game wanting to ease Taylor Martinez back in, not running him a whole lot. But they found out that they're in a dogfight, and the option, if that's going to be the way that they can move the football, Taylor Martinez is going to have to be able to run the ball.
Gain of 6 on the previous play for Abdullah, and a Martinez to the air. And over the middle, it is caught. The receiver, Anun, will get sandwiched, but got the first down at the 46 in Minnesota territory. That'll stop the clock for a moment at 1:10. They still have 2 timeouts left.
Boy, Anun took a shot. He came off on the sideline. He's shaken up.
Martinez rolling out and throws it out of play. Being chased by Cochran again. Damian Wilson also for Minnesota. There's Anunwa, who was shaken up after that first down catch.
He's been a huge asset to this offense. You see, he's the captain. He was a leading receiver coming into this game with 25 catches and 7 touchdowns on the season. If they are not able to have him back in this game, it'd be a big loss.
Kenny Bell's been quiet since that big catch, that opening drive. Had one go off his fingertips on a screen. Here's second down. Abdullah. And he gets knocked out of play. Boy, that was close to a hit out of bounds by Eric Murray. No flag. A dangerous throw there by Martinez. Rashid Hageman put his hands up.
Well, you're right. That could have easily been a flag. And, you know, if that were a quarterback, it certainly would have been a flag.
Third down and 3. At the 39-yard line of Minnesota. Pat Smith, the field goal kicker, has made a 45-yarder today, a season long. They got to get a first down, though, to get closer for their kicker. And we're going to have a timeout here by Minnesota. So 1 left for the Gophers. All right, let's answer today's Aflac trivia question, which definitely a brain teaser. Which former Gopher played in just about every league but baseball?
Yeah, the key word was played versus coached.
Bud Grant, 9-time letter winner in football, baseball, basketball at University of Minnesota. People think about Dave Winfield when you think football, basketball, and baseball at this school. But Bud Grant, whose grandson Ryan was a linebacker here and finished up last year after a 5-year tenure.
And he went into the Halls of Fame as a coach, not as a player. That was the slow Joe Arstad. He tries to trick us with those things.
Joe Sullivan, yeah.
You always got to be careful of the wording of the Aflac question.
Big football weekend here in Minneapolis with this game, and tomorrow night the Vikings hosting Green Bay. Third down and 3. Nebraska at the 39 of Minnesota, trailing by 7. They thumped Purdue in their last game 2 weeks ago, their largest margin of win since joining the conference, 44-7 against the Boilermakers, but struggling today. Here's an option, and Martinez pitches it out of bounds. So it'll be 4th down. They spot the ball when you pitch it backwards and it's fumbled. They spot it where it goes out of bounds. So it's around the 42-yard line. There is a marker down at the 40.
I think they got to have. Rashid Hageman was in the backfield again, and it looked like he was held, but he's the guy that got to Martinez and forced the errant pitch. Just a disruptive force on the inside.
So explosive. Hageman 6'6", 311. Recruited by Florida, Ohio State, a lot of big schools, but elected to stay home here in Minneapolis and play for Minnesota.
Personal foul. Face mask. Defense. 15-yard penalty, previous spot. Automatic first down.
It's the second time that Rashid Hageman has been disruptive, got in the backfield and got his hands up around the face mask of Taylor Martinez. And boy.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, that is a penalty, but what misfortune for Rashid Hageman, who's been making plays all first half and has been snake bit by getting his hand up around the helmet area.
So now they've got it inside the 25. 2 timeouts left, a fresh set of downs. Well within field goal range now. A swing pass to Abdullah, maybe out of field goal range after he gets taken down for a 7-yard loss. Damian Wilson, the Minnesota leading tackler, firing into the backfield, and a timeout by Nebraska.
There he is right here. He reads it, very good recognition, and then form tackle by Damian Wilson. These linebackers for Minnesota, Wilson, Manuel, and Hill, have all made plays in this first half. They've been the best players on defense outside of Hageman from Minnesota.
So how do you handle this here if you're Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator? Your kicker, Pat Smith, has made a 45-yarder, but prior to today, he only attempted 3. His longest attempt was 32 yards. Do you let Martinez throw the ball, or are you just going to keep running the option, which has really been the play that's been most successful for Nebraska today?
Yeah, you can do either. I mean, with a timeout, you can do either of those things, and I think you still need to get 10 yards or so to really feel comfortable about attempting a field goal with Smith. But make no mistake, you want to get some kind of points here before halftime.
Now Rashid Hageman, who's been in the backfield a lot, made some plays, also 2 penalties. The first one didn't cost him as Nebraska ended up punting the ball. We'll see if his second face mask personal foul penalty does cost Minnesota. Abdullah, look out. And a great play by Hageman to get him from behind. Otherwise, he might have scored. Brought down at the 25 after a 6-yard gain. So it'll be 3rd down and 11. The clock running. Nebraska not using its timeout here.
Take a look at the effort here from Hageman. I mean, you rush the quarterback and then peel off to run back down and get the screen. Tremendous effort from Hageman.
Not sure why Nebraska waited then to call its final timeout.
3rd and final team timeout.
There was about 30 seconds left after the play was over, and they elected to run a play. And then when it got down to about 17, Bo Pelini signaled for a timeout. So they're out of timeouts, and they've got a 3rd down and 11 coming up from the 25.
Let's go back to that last play. Hageman, you can see, take a look at the effort. I mean, he's a tremendous player, strong, big, 6'6", 311 pounds. But when you rush the quarterback, then you diagnose screen. Look at the athletic ability to get off a block and then chase down Amir Abdullah. That's unbelievable right there.
And again, if he doesn't make this tackle, he had a couple guys out there blocking for Abdullah with his speed.
And give him credit. He's been snake bit with those 2 penalties where he's, not intentionally, but got his hand on the face mask of Taylor Martinez after he's made 2 unbelievable plays, but he hasn't gone in the tank. He's still playing with supreme effort. Here you got to either get a first down or throw the ball outside to the sideline to stop the clock.
Minnesota wanted to see how Nebraska was lining up, and the Gophers used their final timeout.
30-second timeout.
Sophomore Heisman hopefuls headline tonight's Pac-12 clash with BCS implications. Brett Hundley and UCLA against Marcus Mariota and Oregon. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. It's on ESPN at 7 o'clock Eastern time.
And just to finish up on Rashid Hageman, Nebraska's got to find a way to block him. They can't expect Mike Mowdy, who's filling in for Spencer Long, to just continue to block him one-on-one. They have got to make that adjustment at halftime.
Tom, jump in here on Hageman.
Well, Rashid Hageman was a tight end coming out of high school. In fact, we had him in the Under Armour All-America game, and he was this monster athlete, but he was extremely raw. Sometimes those are the guys that make the transition to a more natural position, which has also become defensive tackle.
Tom Lugan-Bill, our ESPN National Recruiting Director. And watching all these kids since they were in high school. Knows Hageman well. 3rd down and 11, 15 seconds left. They'll throw it here. Martinez stepping up, throwing end zone. through the hands of Kenny Bell, incomplete. We mentioned Bell has had drops throughout his career. He's shaken up on the play. It looked live like it went right through his hands. He had to jump for it. It's 4th down.
Great job extending the play by Taylor Martinez. You're right. You got to come down with that football. You're going to get hit either way. And that ball's thrown high. Could have been a better ball. But Kenny Bell normally comes down with that football.
So now Pat Smith will try a 42-yard field goal. He was good from 45 earlier in the half. And he's good again. Prior to today, had never attempted a field goal longer than 32 yards. He's hit now from 42 and 45, and it's 17-13 Minnesota.
This would have been good from 55. That was well struck. Went through high on the uprights.
Still, though, for Minnesota to be leading at halftime, with Taylor Martinez coming back, the way the Huskers looked on their opening 2 drives, you've got to be concerned if you're Nebraska. They haven't been able to stop Minnesota's offense. We thought it'd be the other way around.
And give Minnesota credit offensively. Coming into this game, they did not look good. They don't have the kinds of athletes and players at the skill positions that Nebraska or anybody else in the Big Ten has, for that matter. But they have found the scheme that works for them to run the football. That speed sweep and the combination of the quarterback run with that speed sweep and power game has been confusing for the young Nebraska defense, and that's been the difference in the game outside of the fumble by Abdullah that gave Minnesota some points as well.
Minnesota's had 7 different ball carriers, and they have 161 rushing yards.
Yep.
Really spread it around with the straight handoffs and the speed sweeps.
And those are the top 2 things Nebraska needs to figure out at halftime, is that defensively, and then how are they going to block Rashid Hageman.
Hageman with a sack, and then had 2 other plays that he made that were negated because of face mask fouls. On the return, it's Max Williams out near the 40, and that's the end of the first half. Minnesota trying to win its 2nd straight after knocking off Northwestern in Evanston last week. And they'll get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. They lead Nebraska by 4. And here's Tom with Bo Pelini.
Coach, defensively, a lot of misdirection from Minnesota. The jet sweep action seems to have gotten you on your heels a little bit. How do you make the adjustment in the second half?
Well, they're just throwing some things at us we didn't quite, that our guys haven't seen from these guys. We'll make some adjustments and we'll be ready to go.
You're able to mount a pretty
execute better at the end of the day.
You mounted a nice drive there in the last part of the 2nd quarter, but we haven't seen much run game out of Taylor Martinez. How much of that could we see in the second half?
Well, we'll see what they get. I think if we just we do a better job of getting the ball and taking care of the football, our offense will keep rolling. We'll be okay.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Certainly got to be upset about the fumble by Abdullah, and then really the drop touchdown by Bell. Minnesota at halftime leading 17-13. Lexus halftime report. Here's Reese.
College football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com.
Dave Pash, Brian Greasy in Minneapolis. Minnesota leads Nebraska 17-13. And at halftime, Jerry Kill, who is not coaching today, joined the assistants in the locker room. Kill wearing the maroon and gold polo, and he was able to address the team. Tom Luganbill has more.
Well, essentially, Coach Kill told his football team, stay in the moment and enjoy the moment. Keep fighting, keep scrapping. We told you all along that you could compete with anybody that you took the field with. So it's a long game. We've got a long way to go. But the biggest message, enjoy the moment.
Well, Rashid Hageman certainly enjoying it. He didn't like the personal foul calls, but he is disrupting Nebraska's entire offense right now.
Well, yeah, he knows he can play with Nebraska. There's no question. He's been the most disruptive force for Minnesota on defense, and he's been lined up almost exclusively over Mike Mounty, who's substituting for the injured Spencer Long, and he just has not been up to the task. Rashid Hageman, even when they don't block him on a screen route, look at the effort that he has displayed in this first half. It's been outstanding. And then offensively for Minnesota, really the speed sweep element has been the wrinkle that has got Nebraska confused. And you see the effect that that speed sweep and the threat of it has. and has opened up lanes on the inside for the quarterbacks and the running backs. And that's why in the first half they have had 161 yards rushing.
And 67 for David Cobb on 14 attempts. They also had Donovan Jones rush it 3 times for 44 yards, and he's a wide receiver. Minnesota will get the ball to start the second half. Marcus Jones and Antonio Johnson are the deep men. Moro Bondi will kick it off. And it will come out to the 25 for the Gophers. Time for our Discover Game Changer, brought to you by Discover Car.
Now, there's no question it's been Rashid Hagman, and I think he's going to continue to line up over Mowdy, and we'll see if Nebraska adjusts the way that they're blocking up front. And then the running game we talked about. The thing on the first half, Minnesota had 17 first downs. They ran the ball 15 times on those first downs, and they averaged over 7 yards a carry. That's a pretty impressive stat.
And Nelson will hand it off to Frichte. Another end around, getting a handoff. And it's a good play. 9 yards to the 34. Tracy Clay's 3rd game in a row, 2nd on the field as the Minnesota acting head coach. That's significant because he spent the last 20 years upstairs as Jerry Kill's defensive coordinator. Kill is still getting treatment and trying to manage his epilepsy, and that's why he's not coaching during the week or on game day. But Clay's told us yesterday that Jerry Kill's been coming around the office a little bit more, having a little bit more input. On 2nd down and short, there's no running room for Cobb. Brought down by Thad Randall in the backfield for a loss. Boy, Nebraska needed somebody to make a play on that D-line, and it's senior Thad Randall who does it.
I think one of the adjustments that Nebraska needs to make in the second half defensively is to get out of their traditional 2 safety looks. They love to play match coverage and play 2 safeties, but this running attack has pierced them in the first half. They need to get that extra safety down in the box to stop the running game of Minnesota.
They're not doing it, though. They only have 5 in the box here with the 2 safety deep look. You see it there. Nelson stepping up, in trouble, and brought down. And the ball comes out. They rule him down, though, at the 32. Gregory recovered it just in case. Aaron Curry had pressure. 4th down. Definitely down.
He was down there. If Minnesota's going to win this game, they have got to stay out of 3rd and medium to 3rd long, where Nebraska really excels now with pass rushers on the outside like Gregory and like Randall and Avery Moss. Those guys can get to the quarterback from the outside.
Well, that was really 3rd and 3. You know, they had 9 yards on 1st down, and then they have to punt. Mortel will boot it deep. Jordan Westerkamp is back for Nebraska at his 25. And nowhere to go. Westerkamp, we've seen that twice now, electing not to signal for a fair catch, where it looked like he was going to get hit initially, and it was a 43-yard punt. Aaron Hill was the first man there. Taylor Martinez's numbers on the day. First game in 6 weeks. They had 2 bye weeks, so it's really 3 games that he missed after starting 32 in a row. Had turf toe on his left foot.
Well, we were talking to Coach Tim Beck last night, and Bo Pelini for that matter, and their biggest concern wasn't necessarily the foot for Taylor Martinez, but it was the rust. After not having played football for a month, they didn't expect him to come out here and be firing on all cylinders, and we saw he missed a couple throws in the first half.
Here's Amir Abdullah, who is shaken up in the first half. Oh, he gets walloped. Huge hit by Damian Wilson. Met him in the hole and slammed him down, a gain of only 2.
And we talked about it. These linebackers for Minnesota have been playing outstanding. He plays off the block right there of the center. That's Pensick, and just drives Abdullah back.
Abdullah closing in on another 100-yard rushing game, even with just a couple there. Here's Martinez, and he got rid of it there. He ran forward, then ran back behind the line and threw it backwards to Kenny Bell, but he didn't get much. Bell dropped a touchdown at the end of the first half. Winnable gain here.
You just get the sense that this Minnesota defense is playing at a higher intensity than Nebraska's offense right now. They're flying all over the ball. They had the inside covered. They had Martinez accounted for, and then when he flipped it out late, they still made the tackle on Kenny Bell.
So it's 3rd down and 6. 33% 3rd down conversion rate today for Nebraska. Trying to stay unbeaten in Big Ten play and get to 6-1. Michigan State 3-0 leads the Legends division over Nebraska. Plays Illinois later today. Martinez pass dropped again, this time by a noon one. Got to help a quarterback out. That's 3 drops by Nebraska receivers today.
Anuma is normally a sure-handed receiver. That ball is a little bit low. Then again, take a look at Hagman. How do they block him? He had plenty of time to throw. Initially Pensick, and then the right guard comes off. Mowdy. I think you're going to continue to see that as the game goes on.
Punt almost blocked. Retrieved at the 37-yard line. Engel makes the first man miss. Now the second man, and a flag down. A face mask penalty. That's going to put the ball around the 40-yard line of Nebraska. 12-yard return and tack on 15 more. Right in front of the official.
Personal foul. Face mask. 91. Kicking team. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So great field position for Minnesota after the face mask foul on Miller. Minnesota still leading by 4. Celebrating its 9th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. Since 2005, Allstate has contributed more than $3.2 million in scholarship funds. So after the penalty, it's a net punt of 10 yards for Nebraska, and Minnesota, which leads the Huskers, who are 24th in the initial BCS standings, takes over in Nebraska territory. Look at this formation. You got a tackle out in the slot to the bottom of your screen. And they throw to the tight end wide open. It's Goodger in the middle of the field inside the 20-yard line. Nebraska's young defense totally fooled on that play.
And they take the offensive tackle and line him up out here, so nobody knows from Nebraska defensively where to line up, and there's the tight end. He'll just release, and it's an easy pitch and catch. Very well designed by Minnesota offensive coordinator Matt Limegrove.
Did you see Ben Lauer, the tackle out there, putting his hands up, acting like they were going to throw him a screen pass?
That's an offensive tackle's dream right there.
That was hilarious. So ball on the 17-yard line. And play action for Nelson. On the rollout, he'll keep it. Inside the 10. Inside the 5. First and goal, Minnesota at the 3-yard line. 14-yard run.
Great decision from Philip Nelson, who they decided to start the second half. Nobody open downfield, only had 2 receivers. Tuck it, get a first down. Minnesota has the momentum. It's very clear they have the momentum. I love the play call of the trick play right after a poor punt and a penalty. You get the ball in the plus yard side of the field and take a shot, and 2 plays you're inside the 5-yard line.
Go with their heavy formation here. They'll give it to Cobb, trying to pick a hole. It's not there. Well defended. Jared Afalava and David Santos on the tackle for Nebraska. So it is 2nd down and goal. See if Minnesota just pounds it between the tackles again here.
I wouldn't. I'd throw the ball. I'd go play action on 2nd down. If you're going to throw it, 2nd down is the down to throw it. You got 3 tight ends in the game. Line up in a heavy set. Play action. One of them might be open.
There's a diamond formation. And the quarterback in the middle of 2 fullbacks and the tailback getting the call. Down to the 1-yard line is Cobb, but not in. Tackled by Avery Moss, so it's 3rd down and goal. So you said you can throw it on 2nd down. They don't. You got an injured Nebraska player here. So do you have to run it here on 3rd down? You're at the 1-yard line. The injured player is Aaron Curry, sophomore defensive lineman. I mean, they've had success running between the tackles, not on those 2 plays, but.
Well, the success that they've had running the football has been out in the field where they had the speed sweep element, right? And then they have the quarterback run on the outside. The running backs have been running off tackle, and then they've had the speed sweep with Jones. That element doesn't exist down here inside the 5-yard line because the defense doesn't have to respect that speed sweep as much. So it's much more difficult for Minnesota just to line up below Nebraska off the ball in between the tackles. They've now brought 3 wide receivers in and said you would expect them to throw the ball here on 3rd down.
Are you surprised, or do you think that for Nebraska here, because we thought Minnesota's offense was going to struggle today like it has all year, you think this is a must stop here for Nebraska to hold Minnesota to 3? Can they get down 11 points?
I think they can. I mean, this isn't a make or break here at 9:21 of the 3rd quarter with the way that Nebraska can look offensively, very explosive with Taylor Martinez. I think on the flip side, if you are Tracy Claeys, you want to score a touchdown right here, obviously, to maximize the opportunity.
And obviously you see from the numbers there they can score, but since those first 2 drives they have just 3 points. They have not been able to move the ball, but part of that is some bad throws, also some drops by Nebraska receivers. As we take a look at our BCS standings, brought to you by Discover Card, and the highest rated 1-loss team is Stanford, 6-1. And speaking from a Big Ten standpoint, what's the road ahead like for Ohio State? What can they expect, even if they run the table, go unbeaten, maybe knock off Michigan twice or beat Michigan State in the Big Ten title game? No, it's not enough, is it?
The hardest thing for Ohio State will be the strength of schedule at the end of the year, because right now they're the only team that's in the top 20 from the Big Ten. Michigan is at 22, I think, and Wisconsin. So Michigan State,
Nebraska's 24.
Right, Nebraska's 24. So it's going to be a very hard road. Wildcat.
Check this out here. They got Donovan Jones as the Wildcat quarterback on 3rd down and goal. And now they shift the quarterback under center, and it's a quarterback sneak, and it's a touchdown. Philip Nelson was wide left. He motioned under center, and the Gophers lead it 23-13.
If you line up under center with Nelson, then the defense thinks quarterback sneak. But when you don't line, look how deep the linebackers are. They weren't ready for the quarterback sneak. And that little bit of a cushion allowed him to get in the end zone.
Think about it. This is a Minnesota team essentially without its head coach. And look what they're doing to Nebraska. You heard Bo Pelini at halftime say that their young guys on defense were confused. And the extra point makes it 24-13 Minnesota with 9 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
Minnesota takes an 11-point lead against Nebraska with the creativity on offense on that last drive. Ben Lauer, the left tackle, lines up flexed out. Drew Goodger is hiding on the weak side. Looks like an offensive tackle. But the legal formation, they pop it to him down the middle of the field. Surprises his young Nebraska defense. And then on the quarterback sneak, they flex out the quarterback, Philip Nelson, which creates a little bit of cushion from those linebackers. And Minnesota gets a big touchdown to start the 3rd quarter.
It's been a very serious year for Minnesota with the epileptic seizures that Jerry Kill has had that's forced him to step back. And the coaches told us yesterday they want to make it fun for the players. This is fun. When you're an offensive lineman and you're out there faking like you're going to get a screen pass.
It's college football. And when college kids are having fun, a lot of times they're more focused and they're more bought in. And there's no question that these kids have bought into Jerry Kill. They bought into Tracy Claeys, and they're having a lot of fun.
Nebraska not so much. They thought this would be a sure win, but they're struggling. But a good return by Newby here. Out near the 28-yard line as we bring in Tom.
Guys, if you ever really want to know what coaching is, you're seeing coaching right now on the Minnesota sideline, because at the end of the day, Tracy Claeys' job is to put his players in the best position to win, and so they've gotten creative. It's almost like the Oklahoma-Boise State Fiesta Bowl, where you know you're going into the game outmatched athletically, so you got to have some wrinkles that can give your team a chance, and now they're riding high on confidence and momentum.
Can their defense keep stopping Nebraska? They've done it since that second drive. It's a sack on Martinez when it looked like Nebraska was going to go up 14-0. Here Martinez throws deep down the sideline for Bell. Incomplete. It's broken up by Demarius Travis.
Great coverage by Travis. This ball is thrown a little bit short. Kenny Bell is one of the fastest players on this Nebraska team. If that ball is thrown another 5-7 yards downfield, he can pull away from Travis. Travis is a safety. Probably can't run with Kenny Bell. Martinez got to throw that ball down the field.
Martinez just standing, throws, and it's incomplete again. Anoon with the intended receiver. Another drop.
We know that these wide receivers have not caught the ball from Taylor Martinez in a game for a month, and we've seen consistently they have been off target, not on the same page. Anuma came down a little bit gimpy again. He is still down on the field. He got a big hit in the first half. And
Brian, you played in the NFL with turf toe. As you watch Martinez throw, he's been off target. Remember, coming into this game, he's been around 66-67% completion rate. He's become a much better passer. You think, especially with that left foot, that it's impacting him?
Well, first of all, I didn't play with turf toe. I had turf toe and I had to sit out.
Yes, okay.
That's very
Semantics.
painful. I had to come back,
Okay.
back from it. Turf toe is very difficult to come back from. But I don't think that his foot, from what I'm watching, is affecting Taylor Martinez. I think this is just rust of not being out there for the last month, and being fair to Taylor, some of these balls need to be caught by these wide receivers. It's not all on him.
No, he's had some passes a little bit off target, but still catchable. And we've counted now 4 drops. 2 by Bell, 2 by Anunwa. 3rd down and 10. Martinez's pass is caught by Westerkamp, but he has no shot to get the first down. Brock Vereen on the coverage. Boy, the DBs for Minnesota have done a pretty good job. 3 and out.
Well, you have to give Minnesota credit. They are playing up front with Hagman, the linebackers, Manuel Wilson and Hill, and now the secondary gets in with a great play from Travis on a deep throw, and then Vereen coming up and making that play. Give Minnesota's defense credit, and Tracy Claeys, their defensive coordinator and head coach for this game.
Nebraska 0 for 6. Its last 6 third down tries. Engel has to scoop it up after a good punt. And he gets wrapped up and driven to the ground at the 13-yard line. Leroy Alexander on the special teams tackle.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads and the new windows. Tweet your Saturday Superfan photos to College Game Day for a chance to win a trip to a bowl game.
Second worst starting field position for Minnesota at its 13-yard line, but an 11-point lead. They have not knocked off Nebraska since, well, before you were born, Mr. Greasy, and me for that matter, 1960. Now, these two didn't play for a while because Nebraska being in the Big 12, but now Big 10 members. Nelson will keep it here on first down, and a nice run out past the 20 for about 7 yards. Under Jerry Kill, Minnesota has not defeated a ranked team. 0-7 coming into today. Even though Kill is not technically the head coach today, you've got Tracy Claeys as the acting head coach. All wins and losses are credited to Kill. And this would be the biggest win in program history, but there's still a long way to go. Midway through the third quarter.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry Kill had his fingers in this game a little bit up there in the box. Some of these big decisions go for him 4th down. Probably having some input.
Nelson wrapped up. Nebraska does a good job there on the fake. Santos and Afalava on the tackle. Minimal gain. It'll bring up 3rd down. There's Coach Kill. It's in his 3rd season here. He's had success wherever he's been. All this coaches have been with him for close to 20 years. He continues to get treatment and management of epilepsy. Looking at some of the notes on the international website about epilepsy awareness, it's treatable with medication, but 30% of patients who do take medicine find that there is no treatment. It is not a life-threatening disease. There have been athletes and coaches who've had it before. As Nelson throws back to his tight end, Goodger. No catches coming in. He's got 2, though, here in the quarter. And out to the 38 for 16 yards.
Both of them have been big, too. You're going to see the tight end just go against the grain here. You roll out. This is the throwback to the tight end screen. When it's called at the right time, 3rd and 1, everybody expects a run or a run with the quarterback on the perimeter, and the throwback is wide open.
A little shaken up, perhaps. Goodger. So after 16 yards, he goes out. Look at the play selection on 1st down. And Nebraska knows it's coming. They got 8 in the box, but play action. And a pass downfield, single coverage. Leaping attempt, but it's incomplete. Engel could not make the grab.
Boy, Engel had the big touchdown in the first half. This ball is well thrown from Philip Nelson. He had a chance. He had a chance, just through his hands.
Corey Cooper was defending for Nebraska. 2nd and 10.
And that's the first time that we have really seen Minnesota take a shot throwing the football on 1st down. You just saw that graphic. They've been almost exclusively operating on the ground and doing it effectively. The problem with that, when you have an incompletion now, you come in 2nd and 10, and you got to have successful running plays here to get a 1st down.
And Nelson taking off, finding a running lane. And up to the 45-yard line. Picks up 7. Josh Mitchell made the hit for Nebraska, so another 3rd down and short.
A design quarterback run for Nelson, and it looks like it's going to be Nelson throughout the rest of this game. We had Leidner start the game and Nelson come in just before half with the big touchdown to Engel. This is the same recipe they used last week against Northwestern. Leidner started the game, and when he went out with an ankle, Philip Nelson came in and got the big win for him against the Wildcats.
First down for Cobb and more. Inside the 40 before he's dragged down. They brought KJ May in motion. Some of the Huskers looked like they thought he had the ball, and Cobb gets the 1st down. 18-yard run.
Take a look at Corey Cooper on the right side of your screen, number 6 for Nebraska. He comes on a blitz, and he just comes in the wrong hole there. Great cut from Cobb. Another design with that speed sweep. And Nebraska is trying different things, bringing safeties inside in the holes, and it's still not working.
They'll keep it on the ground with Cobb, and he's to the 2nd level before he's dropped right at the 1st down marker. Zaire Anderson on the tackle. Minnesota is now over 200 yards, well over 200 yards, running the football on Nebraska's defense.
Wow. This is not the first team that's had success running the ball against Nebraska, right?
But you're talking Ohio State, Wisconsin, not Minnesota.
Well, I'm even talking about this year. They have not been good against the run this year, and there's a big reason why UCLA had success against them, and I think we're seeing the youth on defense, at least in the front 7, is continuing to hurt Nebraska.
They go with that stack look behind the quarterback, Nelson. Kirkwood on the carry. Into a pile at the 25-yard line, so only a couple there. Thad Randall, David Santos in there for Nebraska. Inside 4 minutes to go now in the 3rd.
Yeah, you're going to see Minnesota offensively, even though it's the 3rd quarter, they're going to try to milk this clock. They want to eat that clock. That's Jerry Kill's approach. Shorten the game, convert 1st downs, be careful with the football. If I were Matt Limegrover, I'd be telling my quarterback to make sure you take that clock under 8 seconds before you snap it.
Saw Michigan State playing Illinois at 3:30 Eastern. Michigan State 3-0 right now, leading Nebraska, as there's a nice play made by Mitchell in the backfield on the sweep. Jones, and that's really the first time Nebraska stopped that play. A loss at 2, so it brings up 3rd and long.
Well, this scenario right here, 28-yard line, you got to be careful if you're going to throw the football from the pocket, Philip Nelson cannot take a sack, because you have a field goal opportunity here, which would make it a 2-touchdown game. Very important. They might probably take it out of his hands and just run the football.
Chris Hawthorne's long on the season is 45. It would be about a 45-yard field goal from here. And Nelson throwing, and it may have gotten tipped at the line. It was short of the intended receiver, Jones, and incomplete, so it's 4th down. And they will bring on Chris Hawthorne to try the long field goal.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit of pressure from Randy Gregory. You see he's a little disappointed. Could have thrown a better ball, but the coverage was there. I'm not sure if that ball was on target. It may have been intercepted. So
just the replay that we have here in the booth, it did not look like it was tipped. So like you just said, bad throw. And now Hawthorne from 44 yards already made a 26-yard try. 45-yard attempt officially. And how about that? Chris Hawthorne with a huge field goal, forcing Nebraska to have to score more points in the next 17 minutes than they had to this point.
Well, an impressive drive. You get the ball in your own 13-yard line. You go 10 plays and 60 yards, eat 5 minutes off the clock. You don't get a touchdown, but you extend your lead to 2 touchdowns. That is success for Minnesota.
That's kind of how Tracy Claeys has been the entire game on the sideline. Very stoic as the acting head coach. Here's Tom.
This entire sideline is all about business. They get excited when something good happens, but then it's right back to focus. One of the things I've noticed about this football team, they have a tremendous ability to forget about the last play and move on to the next one. There's always a forward focus, which keeps them from dwelling on any aspect of the game, no matter how good or how bad.
And for Nebraska, if you're on that sideline, you got to be thinking this is our season. They have to play at Michigan, at Penn State. They still have Michigan State. They do not play Wisconsin. They don't play Ohio State either. But if you can't win at Minnesota, how are you going to beat some of the other teams we mentioned that are on their schedule coming up?
Well, first thing they need to do is Taylor Martinez needs to get this offense going. And you can go up to the receivers, talk about we need to make some plays. I'm going to continue to trust you. We've had some drops. We've had some miscommunications. But now's the time to start playing football. And they need to get 2 touchdowns.
Moore will run it out here. It was right on the goal line. Out to the 27-yard line. Let's go to the studio and check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Dave. Time for SportsCenter right now, brought to you by Bank of New York Mellon. Louisville leads USF 27-3 Bridgewater to Dominique Brown, 344 and 3 touches. Might be worth reminding you that until this game officially goes final, USF is in first place in the American, unbeaten in conference play.
And of course, the winner of the American Athletic Conference gets a BCS bid. Abdullah. And one of the safeties, Cedric Thompson, has to spin him to the ground, but after a gain of 9 for the Big Ten's second leading rusher. And up-tempo here for Nebraska with 2 minutes to go in the third. They'll go back to their star tailback, and Abdullah able to get the first down before he gets drilled by Thompson, but enough to move the chains. This is the adjustment by Nebraska. First 6 plays this half. They had only 7 yards, 2 3-and-outs. They get a first down here, though, in this drive.
No need to panic if you're Nebraska. You have plenty of playmakers on the field between your wide receivers and Abdullah.
Martinez running the ball. Look out! Inside the 40, still going. And they finally push him out of bounds, and then he gets tackled out of bounds, and here comes the flag. Aaron Hill had him on a play, should have held up. He did not. Tack on 15 more yards. That'll put the ball near the 10.
And just that fast, Nebraska shows why they're explosive. Hill here, this is an awful penalty to come down and land on top of a quarterback. The only reason you do that is to try to hurt somebody. He made a conscious decision.
There's no foul on the play. The hit started inbounds. Finished inbounds in a normal tackle.
I disagree with that. That looked like you said, Brian, even though he had a hold of him, that there was an intent to punish on the tackle.
There's no question. And
picked him up.
That wasn't finished in bounds. That's what the official said there. That was not finished in bounds. That was finished on the sideline with an intent to injure.
Really surprised they picked up the flag there. So is Bo Pelini.
Well, you got, if you're Nebraska, you got to capitalize on this momentum. Despite the fact you didn't get that penalty, you're still in great position here.
From the Minnesota 26 with 90 seconds to go in the third. They go out of two back here. C.J. Zimmer has got some reps at fullback. Here's a pitch to Abdullah. And bumped out by Thompson. Not much on the pickup, though. About 3 yards for Abdullah. Junior tailback who was shaken up. Hurt his left ankle in the first half, but has come back strong. He did have a fumble that was recovered by Minnesota, but averaging 7 yards a pop.
Yeah. And if you start getting the running game going with Abdullah, it opens up play action. And we haven't called Kenny Bell's name, as you mentioned, since the first quarter. They've got man-to-man coverage anytime they want to take a shot with Bell.
A handful of drops by Nebraska receivers. Here's 2nd and 7. Pressure off the edge. Martinez hit. Oh, he got hammered and almost completed it. Bell couldn't make the catch. Martinez got hit by Damian Wilson. It's a couple times he's been hammered and has hopped to his feet right away.
Well, you got to start respecting this Minnesota defense. You got Hageman, but you also have Wilson and Manuel, number 9, who comes in.
Oh, that should have been a flag.
Wow.
That's targeting. That's above the head. Or above the shoulders, I should say, to the head.
With the crown of the helmet. It's two personal fouls that did not go Nebraska's way on back-to-back plays.
3rd and 7. Abdullah on the cutback inside the 15. Abdullah able to keep his feet and then stumbles to the 7. It'll be 1st and goal.
The option between Abdullah and Martinez, so difficult to stop.
Up tempo again. Minnesota not lined up, and Abdullah to the 3-yard line. Manuel and Wilson team up on the tackle. We'll see if they elect to snap it one more time here before the end of the quarter. Martinez is saying, let's go. Let's get lined up. Yep. Run another play.
I agree. Keep that momentum going.
Martinez wide open. Touchdown. Sam Cotton, his first touchdown of the season. Impressive response by Nebraska.
I'll tell you what's impressive is in a hurry-up situation to be able to dial up that play, the play action flip to the tight end inside the 5-yard line, because when you're going up tempo, it's hard to communicate that fast enough. But the sting of Abdullah on that drive led to a wide-open Cotton.
Give Martinez credit. He got hit in the head, and 2 plays later, he throws a touchdown pass. 10th TD pass of the year. The extra point cuts the Minnesota lead to 7.
And here's Cotton right here, and you're going to see he's just going to release out late, and everybody's going to try to tackle Amir Abdullah after the way that he's run on this drive. Very well executed in a hurry-up situation by Martinez and this Nebraska offense, and they got it in their mind. No matter what happened, they were not going to be stopped on this drive. They missed out on 2 personal foul opportunities and still got the ball in the end zone. That's what leadership does for you there. When you have a leader like Martinez and like Abdullah that get your guys on the sideline and you have that conversation, no matter what has happened through 3 quarters, we are going to come out and we're going to execute. We're going to make the plays we need to make to get back in this game.
Let's see how Minnesota handles this now. How they handle success. They had a 14-point lead. An impressive drive engineered by Martinez. First touchdown pass of the day for him. See how the Gophers react. Marcus Jones and Antonio Johnson are deep. A win for Minnesota would get it bowl eligible. Been a long time since they've been bowl eligible in October. Nebraska trying to get to 3-0 in conference play with a very difficult schedule against intra-Legends division opponents, including Michigan on the road. They'll come out to the 25, nation's longest win streak, and perhaps BCS title hopes on the line. Ohio State, led by Braxton Miller, taking on freshman quarterback Christian Hackenberg in Penn State. Saturday Night Football, presented by Windows. 8 o'clock on ABC. Penn State coming off that win a couple weeks ago at home against Michigan. We'll see if that momentum carries over to Columbus.
And an opportunity for Ohio State on a national stage to make a statement, right? Against a good team in Penn State. Not a great team, but a good team. They can't have games like they had against Iowa and Northwestern where the outcome was in doubt for an extended period.
And Northwestern's play since that game has not helped Ohio State.
Right.
As they were in the top 20 prior to that game. Nelson looking downfield, and it's caught. It's Goodger again in the Nebraska territory. He's come out of nowhere and has made 3 big catches on the day. A 31-yard pass play to the wide-open tight end, Drew Goodger.
You run a naked, and the linebackers are the ones you're trying to put pressure on. Goodger is on the left side of the screen. He'll be behind him. All the linebackers are running out to the quarterback, wide open on the weak side. And Minnesota's in business again.
Or download the Watch ESPN app to watch ESPN live anytime, anywhere. Brought to you by Vizio.
It's been the big play offense of Minnesota. You heard that right. That's been the story. 13 plays over 10 yards. And the Gophers just got a big play to the Nebraska 44 at the end of the third quarter after Nebraska scored a touchdown to pull within 7. Minnesota trying to get to 500 in conference play. Nebraska trying to stay unbeaten. Keep up with Michigan State in the Legends division. Here's Cobb. And he moves the pile down to the 40-yard line. A gain of 4 on the play. Zaire Anderson made the tackle. Cobb closing in on a 100-yard day. He's close to 600 yards on the season. Guy that was not on the depth chart before the season started. He's on his way to his second consecutive 100-yard rushing day.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the speed sweep today affecting the running game, but this offensive line, give them credit too. Up front, Epping, Bach, Campion, they're all having a lot of success driving this Nebraska defensive line off the ball.
Cobb again, and he's close to a first down at the 34. A lot of safeties making tackles for Nebraska. That was Corey Cooper. Let's check in with Reese.
All right, Dave, Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. The Aggie defense has been much maligned. Patton Robinette is picked off. Howard Matthews goes in. That's Texas A&M's 3rd pick 6 of the year. Only 8 teams have that many or more, so the Aggie D doing something right.
Wow. And here it was a first down, Reese. So first down for Minnesota at the 34-yard line of Nebraska. How about Manziel? 3 more touchdown passes for A&M and that 18-point lead. The quarterback, Nelson, throwing, and a sliding attempt, incomplete. Henry could not make the catch.
Well, they had the linebacker beat, 41, David Santos. He's looking in the backfield. He doesn't pick up Henry soon enough. The ball's thrown perfectly. And Henry, that's the first opportunity he's had to catch a pass in this game. And sometimes when you're at that fullback position, you're blocking, you're being physical. You're not using your hands to catch the ball, and all of a sudden it gets on you and you drop it.
That was only the 12th pass attempt. Minnesota has run 54 plays, 42 rushes. They got 2nd and 10. Nelson rolling. And another drop, and it's incomplete, almost intercepted. Derek Engel, the intended receiver, and Jean-Baptiste had the football, but it hit the ground.
Well, this is the 2nd drop for Engel. This ball is right on his chest, and you know, you talk about teams that learn how to win. You got to learn. There's specific things you need to do to learn how to win. One of them is finishing, and one of them is making the play in the 4th quarter when it gets tight. And people don't expect you to win this game. All of a sudden you say, oh my gosh, we can win. You got to make these plays, back-to-back drops. Not going to let you win.
See how they handle the play calling here. Remember, they had a 4th down and 10. They went for it and got a touchdown. This is 3rd and 10, and a receiver fell down on the pass off the mark. It was Engel who slipped on the 20. Now they went for it on 4th and 10 down here last time and got a touchdown. Let's see if they do it again.
Didn't stay out over his feet. They teach you as a wide receiver, keep your shoulders over your feet and you won't slip. That time he was leaning back and his feet slipped out from underneath him.
They're going to go here. We mentioned the successful 4th down and 10 they had in the first half. They're going to give it another shot here. Nebraska wasn't expecting a long pass.
Well, they'll be ready this time, trust me.
Although Minnesota may call a timeout here, and Tracy Claeys may think about this.
If I'm Tracy Claeys, I'm going to punt this ball. My defense is playing well. I know they gave up a drive on the last outing, but throughout the course of this game, they've been up to the task, and I don't want to give them any cheap field position.
And it's again a decision he's not used to.
Yeah.
He is a guy as they took a delay a game penalty rather than use a timeout, so that'll put the ball back at the 39, more room to punt.
Right. But this is the right decision for Tracy Claeys to punt this football, and it was the right decision in the same situation earlier in the game to go for it. So give him credit, because the same situation at a different point in the game could result in a different decision, which would be the right decision.
And as the coaches told us yesterday, even though Jerry Kill is not making the decisions, that they have so much data already banked from 2 decades of working together that they are making decisions based on what they know Jerry Kill would do. And Kill is in the press box today. Maybe he is making some recommendations, as it's fair caught short of the 15-yard line by Jordan Westerkamp. Early 4th, Minnesota leads it by 7. The chase for the Sprint Cup hits the home stretch as Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson lead the chase field into historic Martinsville Speedway at 1 o'clock Sunday on ESPN. Denny Hamlin on the pole. Only 4 points separate leader Jimmy Johnson. Second place Matt Kenseth. Good number of fans from Nebraska here in Minneapolis on a cold day. Temperature around 40. 27-20, Minnesota leads. Taylor Martinez back after missing 3 games due to an injury. He's thrown for just over 100 yards. He'll hand it off here to Abdullah, who's got the corner. And steps out near the 35-yard line, but a 22-yard run.
Great block on the outside by Anunwa. He takes the corner with him and gets the block on the linebacker right there. That's a double whammy, and that's what frees up Amir Abdullah on the outside. There he is. He brings Brock Vereen, 21, who was in man coverage, who wasn't there to stop him.
142 yards on the day. Abdullah close to 1,000 on the season. He rushed for 1,137 last year. They fake the end around. Martinez throwing it downfield into coverage. And there were 2 Nebraska receivers around the ball, Anunwa and Bell. Not sure if one of those 2 ran the wrong route. Second down.
No, he's throwing it inside to Kenny Bell. Kenny Bell couldn't get off, and Anunwa saw it and just said, I'm going to come in and try to make that play. But Kenny Bell couldn't get off the coverage from Eric Murray to make a play on the football.
3 catches on the day for Bell. Had a couple of drops, so has Anunwa. 2nd and 10. Martinez to the air again. In trouble, hit. And down he goes. Alex Keith with the sack.
Well, and give some credit to Roland Johnson, who had the initial pressure as well. They're double teaming Hagman, which gives the other guys up front an opportunity to come in and make plays, and Keith finishes it off.
3 sacks today by Minnesota. Through the first 6 games, Nebraska only allowed 3, which was second fewest in all of college football. Now 3rd and 15.
Yeah, this is where Rashid Hagman has really been difficult to block.
They got 4 guys blocking him as Martinez fires to Anunwa. He's able to hold on to it and break a tackle. So first down, Nebraska inside the Minnesota 40. A terrific play by Taylor Martinez that time.
They're going to play a two deep coverage here, and here's the hole. Nice job by Martinez of buying some time. A new one outside releases, doesn't give up on the route, and that ball is perfectly thrown for a first down.
32 yards on third down and 15. From the 38 of Minnesota, Abdullah got a crease inside the 30-yard line. Oh, he hurdles a defender. He stepped out of bounds at the 16-yard line as he leaped over Martez Shabazz, a 22-yard run.
Wow. Just barely stepped out. What an athlete Amir Abdullah is. We've seen him make these plays throughout his career at Nebraska. Such explosion from that halfback position. Huge third down conversion has got the momentum back for Nebraska.
Ball at the 16. Amani Cross in the game now at tailback. And he's hit low at the 14-yard line by Damian Wilson, so only a couple of yards there. Abdullah now 164 rushing yards on the day. He'll stay on the sideline for second down.
And if I'm Nebraska, I'm going to make sure I get Amir Abdullah back in this game as fast as possible. He's your most explosive player on offense. He and Taylor Martinez. The threat of those two run the options, what's been successful in the second half.
Martinez changing things up, the play clock down to 5. And Martinez will throw. It's a wide receiver screen and nowhere to go for Westerkamp. Ran right into 3 Minnesota defenders. Hagman was one of them. And Hagman a little shaken up as he comes to the sideline. They want him out there on third down and long, but they will not have his services for this play.
Well, third downs in the red zone. This has been where Taylor Martinez loves to throw the corner route. Did it a couple times against UCLA. He tried it earlier in this second half when he got hit, but that's what he likes to do.
Minnesota showing blitz again. No Hagman here. There's been a factor getting in the backfield. The play clock at 4. Martinez has to hurry. It's down to 2. Yep, they will. A timeout taken with just 1 on the play clock. That'll leave Nebraska with 2.
They were bringing an all-out blitz there. Taylor Martinez was smart to see it. Then he got up and was trying to change the play, but you got to keep your eye on the play clock.
Nebraska's had 5 big plays on its last 2 drives of 15 yards or more, and that's got them within 7. They led 10-0. They're down 27-13. Now they have a chance to tie it, but a third down and 10 at the Minnesota 16-yard line.
Here's Kenny Bell. They love to throw the corner out to him. It's an all-out blitz look.
Martinez looking the other way. Fade to the end zone, and it is incomplete. And Nunwa, the intended receiver, had Brock Vereen covering. Pass was underthrown and ruled incomplete.
They ran the double corners that Martinez loves to throw. Kenny Bell on one side and Nunwa on the other. They're going to go down just 2 corner routes. He picked the Nunwa side, probably because he had more field there. Kenny Bell was wide open on the bottom of the screen and just underthrew it a tad and leads to an incompletion.
Nunwa slipped as well, which probably didn't help. And now Nebraska will try a 33-yard field goal. Pat Smith will attempt as many field goals today as he had through the first 6 games combined. He's 2 for 2 so far. Good from 45 and 42 earlier. Play clock down to 1. They didn't get it off. A delay of game.
Delay game.
Boy.
Offense, number 94. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
So that'll make it a 38-yard field goal attempt.
Boy, those are the things that drive coaches bananas. You work on this every single day in practice.
it doesn't seem to matter to Pat Smith. Made 38, 42, and 45-yard field goals. And it's 27-23. Minnesota with 9:26 remaining. Here's the third down pass by Martinez, underthrown and incomplete.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. Get the right car without all the drama. Cars.com. All drive, no drama.
With Brian Gracie, Tom Luganbill in Minneapolis, I'm Dave Pasch. Minnesota leads Nebraska 24th in the BCS standings, 27-23. Amir Abdullah with 164 rushing yards. He's now 20 shy of 1,000 on the season. Minnesota has rushed for 239 yards. And Philip Nelson, who did not start the game at quarterback, came in relief in the win against Northwestern and has played well, filling in for Mitch Leidner, who started the ball game here today.
Well, we've talked about one of the keys to this game for Minnesota was not turning the ball over. They have not done that on this game, and it's a big reason why they're up 4.
The only turnover in this game was an Abdullah fumble that was recovered by Minnesota, but only 3 points off that giveaway. 4-point Gopher lead. Really big game for Nebraska. It wants to get back to the Big Ten championship game. For last year, they lost to Wisconsin, giving up 70 points in the Big Ten title game.
And clearly they haven't fixed all their defensive issues. You know, with youth, it's hard to turn that around quickly when you have young players.
And a deep kickoff here with the aid of healthy Gust, and that'll bring it out to the 25 and the touchback. Here's Reese.
A thriller in the Big Ten. Northwestern and Iowa went to overtime. This is the last chance for the Wildcats. Kane Coulter trying to save him, and he can't. Northwestern's lost 4 in a row, and the game day hex is alive. Since game day went to Evanston, all game day home teams winless since.
I guess Oregon better look out. UCLA at Oregon tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN.
I don't think the Ducks care one bit about where game day is.
First down on the Minnesota 25. See how they handle this possession. Those jet sweeps were working earlier in the ball game. They're just a straight handoff here, but a nice run by Cobb. He was patient, picked the hole, and got 9 out to the 34-yard line. As Cobb is over 100 yards now on the day.
Well, we had talked about this Minnesota offense needing some smoke and mirrors to move the ball today. I want to officially take that back. They are coming off the ball. This offensive line, give them credit. They are blocking. They're effective running the football. The tight ends are blocking. The fullback, Henry's blocking. No smoke and mirrors here. It's just physical.
They go with that 2-back, 2-tight end formation here on second down and a yard. It's Cobb again, and he's got the first down. He splattered that pile out to the 39. 15th rushing first down for Minnesota today.
And now you start to think about eating the clock. And if you're Philip Nelson and if you're Mike Limegrover, you're eating that clock as much as you possibly can. Get that clock, that play clock, under 8, even 5 seconds in cases before you snap the ball. And right now they're breaking the huddle with 20 seconds on. You're allowing precious time for Nebraska to get back in this game.
And Nelson looking to throw here. He dumps it off, and Cobb stays in bounds, makes a man miss, and gets the first down. How about this kid, David Cobb? Nobody ever heard of this guy before the season began. He wasn't even on the depth chart to open the season, but he's become their best back and maybe their best offensive player.
Well, he just dumps it off late. Look at the move on the outside here. Cuts back, then back towards the sideline, gets a first down. Cobb out of Killeen, Texas. One of those players that Minnesota has to go south to Texas. They go to California, Florida to try to find skill position players. And Cobb looks like he's a keeper.
Yeah, if they were to hang on, this would certainly be the biggest win in the Jerry Kill era in the 3rd season for this coaching staff. Cobb again to the 47 for 3 more. David Santos on the tackle. The clock continues to run. Keep in mind, Nebraska had to use a timeout deep in Minnesota territory in the last possession, so 2 remaining for the Cornhuskers.
And remember, David Cobb is playing today. He's the feature back because Roderick Williams, their starter, is out with an injury. He's a turf toe injury, so we may see Cobb for a number of weeks here. It takes a while to come back from, as we know of, from Taylor Martinez.
24 carries on the day for Cobb. They'll snap it around 5 seconds on the play clock. Here's carry number 25 for Cobb off the left edge. And he continues to push the pile down to the 43. A gain of 5. Randy Gregory on the tackle, and a big 3rd down coming up. There's a Nebraska player down. It's Thad Randall who's injured. Starting defensive lineman.
Boy, and Thad Randall's had so many injuries in his career at Nebraska. Hopefully he's all right.
Back to Minneapolis in a moment. Well, the game of the day on ESPN comes your way from the Pac-12 in Eugene. It's Oregon 3rd in the initial BCS standings against UCLA. 2 outstanding quarterbacks and NFL prospects, Brett Hundley, UCLA, and of course Marcus Mariota for Oregon. Might be the front runner right now for the Heisman Trophy. Of course, we got a month and a half or so left in the regular season. Minnesota leading Nebraska 27-23. And on the Nebraska side of the field, and a huge 3rd down and 3. What do you expect here?
Well, first things first, the clock is running, so I expect them to stay in the huddle to burn as much time off the clock as they can, and then come up some kind of run play. I would get Philip Nelson with the speed sweep element with the opportunity to run off tackle. Although Cobb has been outstanding too. You can't go wrong with giving him the ball.
25 carries on the day for Cobb. 126 yards. Nelson rolling out. Got a man wide open. Oh, and a bad throw. It's incomplete. Max Williams tried to dive for it. Could have caught it, but the throw was off the mark. Not sure if Nelson's upset with himself or with his tight end.
Yeah, well, he's right here. He's just going to go down, and he had him wide open. They roll out to buy some time, and there he is. I mean, he can't be more wide open, and that's just nerves. I mean, that's just, you know, we talk about going to win the game, and that would have been a difficult catch for Williams, but you talk about winning the game. That right there, a ball thrown accurately, he turns upfield and scores a touchdown.
Yep.
And you're in really good position.
Game might be over.
Yeah.
Instead, you're punting on 4th down and 3, trying to pin Nebraska deep. Westerkamp is the deep man for Nebraska, waiting for the Mortel punt. And well done by the punter. But Nebraska has to go 91 yards. Trailing by 4, 5:50 remaining. We've seen them have success going up tempo. We saw last drive with them taking their time, having success. Which way would you go here? You have 6 minutes left, so you don't have to hurry.
Yeah, well, it was pretty quick in that last drive. I would continue with whatever tempo has been working best, and that's been as quick as possible. And Taylor Martinez is encouraging this crowd of Minnesota backers to be loud. I can't believe I've seen that before.
Abdullah wrapped up at the point of attack. Roland Johnson, defensive lineman, getting off a block and making a tackle there. We have not seen Rashid Hageman back in the ball game for Minnesota after getting shaken up on the last possession.
Yeah, and that's big to not have Rashid Hageman out there, because if Nebraska does decide to run inside or throw the football, that's a big loss for Minnesota.
So a gain of 1, and now Martinez will throw. Pressure coming. Martinez hit. Spins out of a tackle. Gets the pass away, and it's incomplete. Trying to hit a Nunwa. 3rd down and long.
That's just great effort from Taylor Martinez. He's going to have the blitz come off the edge, and he's dead to rights. Brock Vereen had him dead to right. You got to make that play if you're Brock Vereen. would have been ball on the 2-yard line. Still 3rd long.
Eggman's back out there to rush the quarterback. Get a timeout call here by Minnesota. Try to talk things over for 3rd down and 9. Again, the acting head coach, Tracy Claeys, is also the head coach. And he wants to dial up his best play, so he takes a timeout here.
Well, you got to give credit to Tracy Claeys and the way that he has not only coached in game today, his defense has played outstanding. And the way that they've managed their offense and come in and Matt Limegrover with a plan to run the football, some play action off of it. They've had a lot of creativity on that side of the ball. This Minnesota team has played very well today.
And there's Jerry Kill, who's up in the booth again, not coaching for the 3rd straight week as he continues to undergo treatment and management of his epilepsy that has resulted in 5 seizure-related episodes while being the Minnesota coach. Tracy Claeys, the acting head coach, told us yesterday he wants to try to stay away from the players. Think about what he wants to call on defense in these situations. 3rd down and 9. See if he brings pressure. They did on 2nd down.
I don't think so. I think if you're Minnesota, you want to contain Taylor Martinez. The way that he breaks you down in 3rd and long is he extends plays.
Play clock at 2. They snap it in time. It's a quarterback run, but nowhere to go for Martinez. He loses yardage. Martez Shabazz with the tackle, and Nebraska has to punt out of its own end zone. 4 sacks for Minnesota. Nebraska had given up 3 the entire season before today.
And again, Tracy Claeys decides to bring some creative pressure. He brought Shabazz off the slot. Nebraska was not ready for it, and it was an easy sack.
Foltz to punt from deep in his end zone. Minnesota setting up the return. And a horrible kick. Minnesota's going to have the ball inside the Nebraska 40-yard line. The field judge still going. He stops at the 34. A 27-yard punt.
Boy, meltdown. You have a punter in a pressure situation out of his own end zone. Comes up with the shank, and could not have been a worse time in this season for Nebraska to have that happen. Take a look. He's dropping the ball here, and the ball moves a little bit. There's no pressure on him at all.
So now Minnesota, because it's close to field goal range, just run the ball, force Nebraska to call timeout. Here's Cobb. He gets a couple down to the 32.
No, you always hear fans talk about, or coaches talk about, hey, we got to run the ball when we have to. And I don't believe in that. I think you've got to run the ball when you want to. Minnesota's had to run the football. That's the only hope for them offensively. But what they've done here is they've ran the ball at will when they wanted to in a variety of different ways. I think that's where the commitment to this scheme has really shown out today.
And Luke's out of the 63 plays today, 47 have been runs for 262 yards. Nebraska again had to burn a timeout on offense. 2 remaining. Here's Cobb inside the 30, pushing a defender closer to the 1st down. He'll come up a couple of yards short. Nebraska electing not to call a timeout here. The next snap for Minnesota will come with about 3 minutes to go. It's 3rd down and about 2.
Well, what'll be interesting here for Matt Limegrover, the offensive coordinator, on the last 3rd down, you threw the ball right to Max Williams, and your quarterback didn't execute, didn't get it, but he was wide open. It'd be very hard for him not to come back with another play action pass, thinking it'll be open again, and see whether his quarterback, Philip Nelson, can throw a better ball.
They're in field goal range for Chris Hawthorne, who made a 45-yarder earlier, matching his career long. 3rd down. They hand it off to Cobb, and he's got the 1st down to the 22. So that'll force Nebraska now to use their final timeouts here on the next couple of plays, as we're inside 3 to go. They won't use one here, and the clock starts on the ready for play. Now now Minnesota can take its time.
Yeah, so now if you're Philip Nelson, stay in the huddle. Don't break the huddle until you have about 15 seconds on the play clock. You don't want your offensive line sitting up there at the line of scrimmage too long because they may jump offside. So he's got to manage the clock in this situation.
28 carries for David Cobb. Will he get number 29? Nebraska's got everybody on the line of scrimmage. And Cobb will lose yardage here, and Bo Pelini will call a timeout. A 2-yard setback. So that will make it 2nd down and long. Let's look at how a win, if Minnesota can hold on, would impact them. And let's talk about how a loss would impact Nebraska. Obviously for Minnesota, this would be the biggest win in the Jerry Kill era. And for Nebraska, this could be a devastating loss for Bo Pelini when you think about the UCLA defeat, some of the losses they've had in previous years where they've given up 63 and 70 points, and you had former players like Tommy Frazier calling for the ouster of Pelini.
Yeah, well, let's start with Minnesota, the positive, right? For Jerry Kill, this team has taken on the persona of their coach. They will do nothing but give their best for Jerry Kill. And that's what Brock Barina said. He said, it's very difficult for me not to give my very best because this guy's dealing with seizures. He had cancer, and he comes every day to work. First guy in, last guy out. How can I ever complain about being tired or not wanting to come with my best? So I think what we're seeing today is evident from Jerry Kill's perspective. From Nebraska, this would be a very difficult loss. If they are not able to get back in this game, after that UCLA game, right, all the talk was about the comments. And when you play well and you win on the field, those things don't bubble to the top. But as soon as you have some adversity, you're going to have to deal with the outside sentiment.
You're talking about the comments that were recorded a couple years ago that a tape surfaced just after that game. As they throw the ball here, and Williams is free. First down inside the 10. How about the trust they show in the quarterback, Philip Nelson? It pays off. A first down and goal for the Gophers.
Well, this has got to feel good for Philip Nelson. He missed the 3rd down on the last series. This time, just a naked, wide open, perfectly thrown, and Max Williams gets conversion. That's what winning teams do in pressure situations. Is they make the throw, they make the catch, and Philip Nelson now in position for 2 big wins back-to-back.
A touchdown pretty much ends it. Nebraska with only 1 timeout remaining. Inside the 5 is Cobb. He's down to the 2. And Nebraska has that 1 timeout left. They use it here. So if you're Minnesota, you got a 4-point lead. How do you handle this here with 2nd and goal? Nebraska's out of timeouts.
You still want to approach it the same way. You want to take as much time off the clock. You're going to run a running play, right, on this next down. If you get in, great. If you don't, then you're going to milk it as far down as you possibly can. I would even take I still have 2 timeouts. I'd take one of those timeouts, right? Take as much off the clock as possible and then run your 3rd down play and see what happens.
Do you risk, we've seen trickery, do you risk it here with an incompletion really helping Nebraska if they don't get a touchdown? Is it strictly run plays because they don't have time?
Run plays, because right now you're up. And the biggest thing you want to do is take the time off the clock. If you get in the end zone, great. But the most important thing is take that time off the clock.
Of course, Nebraska, we've seen 9-10 guys in the box here expecting that. And from Minnesota's coaching staff, which has been pretty creative today, who knows?
Well, remember, Nebraska can't stop the clock, so even if you have a negative run play here, you're still going to accomplish your goal. Just hold on to the football. That's what I'm telling Cobb in the huddle right there.
They go with a stack formation behind the quarterback here. It's Cobb, and he's back to the line of scrimmage. So the next snap will come with about 50 seconds left. 3rd down and goal.
You snap that ball and then run it down again, potentially. So.
And then if you have a 4th down situation, there'd be only about 10-12 seconds left. Again, you can call timeout, take it down to 10 or 12 seconds, kick the field goal if you want, or go for it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'd kick the field goal. let's, again, like last week, let's worry about fourth down on fourth down.
Just looking ahead, Pat. I'm sure Tracy Claeys is thinking ahead of what might happen.
Absolutely.
They do put a receiver out there here. Third down and goal. 5 seconds on the play clock. It's a quarterback sneak, but a timeout called by Minnesota. So Claeys calls a timeout. 1 remaining for the Gophers. Let's get Tom in here.
This is where we're starting to see Tracy Claeys, as the acting head coach, really take over those things we talked about in the first quarter. Game management, in-game decisions, putting his football team in position to win. For most of the sideline, he has sat back, he's worried about the defense, and he's let the other assistants manage the kids. But on that particular play right there, he was at the forefront of understanding that how these timeouts are placed are pivotal to the outcome of this football game. He's clearly in charge at the most important part of the game.
That's good stuff, Tom. And he was looking at the play clock. He saw it get to about 4 and called that timeout. So they'll snap it here with 51 seconds left. Again, if they don't get in, he probably will call another timeout to make a decision about what to do on fourth down. And you said you don't want to kick the field goal because there's the risk of the block and then the return. Right. No timeouts for Nebraska. Minnesota leading by 4, trying to get its biggest win in the Jerry Kill and Tracy Claeys era, trying to hand Nebraska its first loss in conference play this year. They fumble the exchange, but Nelson does fall on it. There is a penalty flag down, thrown at the line of scrimmage. For now, it's fourth down. Let's see what the penalty marker is for.
The only thing you're thinking about on offense is ball security. And that time it looked like Philip Nelson pulled out a little bit early.
I think a Nebraska player put his hand out across the line of scrimmage before the snap. And that may be offside on Nebraska.
We have a foul on the defense for striking the ball prior to the snap. That'll be half the distance to the goal. Clock operator, put the game clock at 51 seconds. There was no play.
He actually...
The clock will start on the snap.
He put his hand in the neutral zone to try to scare the center. I don't know if he contacted the ball or not. Let's see here if he got the ball. I don't think he ever got the ball, but he did put his hand into the neutral zone. And that definitely disrupted the Christensen to Nelson exchange. And now it's third down and goal at the 1-yard line. No timeouts for Nebraska. Nelson, quarterback keeper. He is in. Touchdown, Minnesota. It looked initially like Nebraska had it stopped, but Nelson with a second effort. His second rushing touchdown today. Puts away Nebraska with 48 seconds left. 11-point lead for the Gophers.
Minnesota has made more plays in this game than Nebraska. And they have proven that in the fourth quarter, when the game's on the line, they can manage the clock. Tracy Claeys has motivated his team, and they're learning how to win. Between Tracy Claeys and Jerry Kill, this team looks different than it has in the past.
The last time Minnesota beat Nebraska was 1960. Minnesota won a Big Ten championship that year.
And if you're Nebraska, this is gut-wrenching. They did not expect to come in to Minneapolis and lose this game. They had high expectations for this season. It didn't start well, didn't play well against Wyoming. They fell down in the second half against UCLA. They rolled through Illinois and Purdue, and they had designs on the Big Ten championship, but they did not make the number of plays and didn't match the level of intensity, quite frankly, of the Minnesota Golden Gophers in this game.
They gave up 432 yards to Minnesota and 273 rushing yards. And this was a Gopher offense that had struggled throughout the year on offense. Scooped up at the 20-yard line and trying to get outside is Bell, and he'll get out of bounds at the 28. 42 seconds left, no timeouts.
And there's going to be some difficult questions to answer when they get back to Lincoln. And it's going to start with the head coach, Bo Pelini. Is this defense, which we know is young, but has continued to struggle, and to give up that kind of production, those kinds of yards to this Minnesota offense, I know will not be acceptable.
Remember at UCLA, they were dominating early, led 21-3. They end up losing 41-21. They were up 10-0 here. It looks like they're going to roll over Minnesota. And the Gophers then with 34 points from about late first quarter on. Martinez running. And he is tackled right at the first down marker. Looks like he got it, so the clock will stop here to reset the chains. And the season's certainly not over. I mean, you've still got Michigan State on the schedule. Penn State on the schedule as well, but you can't beat the Gophers. I don't know how you're going to win on Ann Arbor and knock off Michigan State with the defense playing the way it is. Martinez throws an interception, and that'll do it. Jeremy Baltazar with the pick. Game over. Minnesota is going to knock off Nebraska.
The biggest win in the Jerry Kill era at Minnesota, and back-to-back wins now against a Northwestern team, yes, that was banged up. This Nebraska team at full strength with Taylor Martinez. This wasn't against Tommy Armstrong. A signature win for Jerry Kill at home against Nebraska.
On a day where, as you look at Jerry Kill in the coach's box, it's a second time the Gophers have had an epilepsy awareness game where they've handed out purple towels, and coaches on both sides are wearing purple ribbons that were designed by Jerry's wife, Rebecca, and they get their coach a win, a big win, to get them bowl eligible in late October. When's the last time that's happened for Minnesota? 34-23, they beat Nebraska. First conference loss of the year for the Cornhuskers. And Minnesota now 500 in league play as the acting head coach Tracy Claeys gets the win. Robert Nelson in relief at quarterback with a couple of big rushing touchdowns. 34-23 the final score. Minnesota beats Nebraska. They're celebrating in the Twin Cities. Out of the studio.